to another episode of Married at First Sight. And today, my guest is someone I got so many messages. You gotta bring Jason back. We love Jason. Jason's so funny. And I mean, I guess I agree with you guys. So I had to, your wish is my command. So yes, my guest this week is Jason from The Perfect Match. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Dane, I'm doing great. I'm gonna need to see those messages. You didn't forward those to me.
No, I did
No,
not.
I love a good ego stroke. So I need to see those messages. Dane, I'm happy to be here with you once again. I had a blast last time, so I think we're gonna have just as much fun this time. There's just as much to be rageful about this time as it was last time, which is a sign of a good season, in my opinion.
Yes, it is. Not enough love, but we're still entertained. So,
Right.
it's a good thing. All right. So, I had two things. Last time it was one thing I want to tell you, two things I want to tell you. But before we do that, let me get business out the way. Housekeeping, guys. On Patreon, I have my recap of the first three seasons of The Traitors. Jason, are you watching that?
I am very excited. It's how you used to have like I don't know if anyone else watched this, but it's like a battle of the network stars back in the day. They used to have these games. Like it feels like that. It's like all my favorite people are coming together, and some of my not so favorite people are all coming together to do nonsense. And it's the game itself makes no sense really
Yes.
in a way, but it's good to see all these people interacting.
Yes, it is. And I'm chuckling because that is exactly what I said in the podcast, that it was Battle of the Network Stars
There you go.
come together, because the game itself is just a game of luck. Like, really,
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
strategize all you want. People like Tony.
Just shots in the dark at all times. Like, this is my evidence. That's not evidence. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm watching UK as well, and they're like, you look the left way, and then your eye was wonky, and I was
Right.
like, you're a traitor.
Exactly. And then the pride when the one shot in the dark gets is right. They're like, see, I am a traitor hunter. It's like, no, like you got lucky once out of the 12 times you did this. You got lucky one time.
So let me ask, who are you rooting for?
Boy, I always got to root for Jeremy whenever I see Jeremy anywhere.
Always.
He's one of my favorite Survivor players.
Always.
So Jeremy, 100%. I just don't want any of my people to look like idiots. Like that's what I'm really after. And after the dust up that I know Tane, you're online like I am. The dust up between Derek from Big Brother and one of all of our favorite reality TV commentators, Mike Bloom.
Unproblematic.
Of all the people to get into a feud with, Mike Bloom, the kindest, gentlest soul on reality TV Twitter.
Oh my God.
So, I think most of the fandom was already rooting against Derek because it's Derek.
Yeah.
But now it's just all the hate's going his way at this point. And, Bob the Drag Queen is not someone that I was familiar with because I'm not a big Drag Race fan. But from what I've seen in the, 2 or 3 episodes we've had, I love the guy. Like, he's a really great trader who I think will be like maniacal as a trader. And you'll love to see him probably overplay his hand at some point.
Yeah.
But so those are all the personalities that I'm loving so far.
It's funny, I'm the opposite. So I watch Drag Race. I love Buff Drag Queen. I was glad that he's a traitor, but I'm not a fan of it. The whole Zac Efron thing. I mean, I know it's entertainment. Everyone's being like they're in House of Villains. Just not a fan. But I have a friend who's not familiar, and she texted me and she's like, so like, I don't watch Drag Race, but do you guys like Bob the Drag Queen? Because I'm not sure what's happening, but it's a game at the end of the day. But yes, I'm with you. I'm Jeremy, Danielle, and Wes.
Yes, Danielle,
I'm a Wes girly to the end. So,
Yeah, I knew you were a huge CT fan. That I know about you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You had a great time last season, I'm assuming. But yeah, Wes is always someone that brings the entertainment and brings the fun. So I love that about Wes too.
Yeah. So either way, it's gonna be fun to see other. And now I'm rooting for Zac Efron's brother. Get at me, Derek.
Yeah. That's Dylan Efron to you. Okay, Tane.
Jeez.
Oh boy.
Respect him.
Put some respect on that man's name. Goodness gracious.
So anyways, I digressed a lot, but as I was saying, on Patreon, I do talk about the first 3 episodes of Traitors and also Traitors UK and the challenge finale. And a bunch of you asked for Love Never Lies South Africa. So I also have a recap for that. And I talk a little bit about some housewife show. And as a reminder, if the ads annoy you, there is a tier, a $3 tier, where you could listen to the episode ad free. So that's out the way, and I'm gonna get to my two things, Jason.
Okay, here we go. I'm
The
ready.
first thing I wanted to mention to you is, are we now like 100% or 99% that it is David and Madison?
The show really, really, really wants us to believe that, wants us to know that and think that. I don't even think
Mm-hmm.
they're really doing even trying to hide it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that's what we're gonna get. I think I mentioned on here last time that the podcasts I do with Asia, a perfect
Mm-hmm.
match, we have our own little podcast community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when they had Still to Come and they see someone feeding Madison, we literally had a comparison of hands. Like that has
Mm-hmm.
to be David's hand. Like, no, I think it's actually Juan's hand. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
we had people posting pictures of Juan and David's hands. Like, see, David's hand is thicker. I was like, okay, like this is exactly what our community is for, to have nonsense like this. But yes, I do think it's David, and we'll get to a moment in this
Yeah.
episode. We're just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my, like my jaw dropped on the floor when this moment happened, to like even
Mm-hmm.
just lead us into more thinking it's David and Madison. So yeah,
Foreshadowing. Yeah.
I think that's where we're going. If it's not, it's the best edit job Married First Sight has ever done to really kind of lead us into one direction and give us the okey doke at the last second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true that. And then in the hand comparison thing, I was just looking at the hand hair. Like, whose hair?
Yeah, I think that's so. Like someone said, "Look at all that hair. That's got to be David."
Yeah.
It's like okay. So
That was the
yeah,
deciding
it's like
factor for me.
it's like look at the shade, look at the likeness. That's got to be Juan. It's like okay, guys, like we're comparing hands
Ah,
here, but
what
I
is the
love the dedication of the
Yes.
crazy fandom we have.
I mean, if they're not going to give us love, we might as well just do an investigation
Hey.
and what's going on. Okay. Wait, so if we have that for, is that I've never been clear. Is it a couple swap and someone cheats, or it's just I don't know.
I'm not sure if the word couple swap has ever been used, or if we have incepted ourselves into thinking it's a couple swap. I'd have to go back and see like the beginning of the season promotion, because that's where it really like took off. Like
Yeah.
I've heard like cheating scandal, I've heard couple swap. I'm not sure if we heard couple swap from the show or we just made ourselves think that.
Yeah.
Because to me, couple swap means, if David and Master getting together, then Alan and Michelle have to get together. That's what couple swap means to me. But
Yeah.
I don't see the Alan Michelle side happening.
Michelle.
So
No.
I don't know. I do think it's just David and Michelle. I think
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, but we're
I'm
getting
sorry,
to the juice.
David and Madison. That's boy, the
Yeah,
Michelle and
still
Madison
mixing.
of it all. Just like David probably will when he sends the wrong text, getting their names mixed up.
Exactly. We're getting to the juice because that's next week already.
Yeah,
So
I was nervous because in the I don't know if you watched the stupid little the journey so far
I didn't
last week.
finish. I couldn't make it to the end.
So like we me and Asia didn't watch it, but we heard from our listeners that like there was some really juicy like previews. So
Yeah.
what I did is like I turned it on, I just fast forwarded
To
to
the
all the
yeah.
previews. I was like, all right,
Mhm.
I'm just going to stop when I see something I haven't seen before. And like Michelle is talking to MM, I think, and she's talking about the text or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, it's gonna be a really interesting couples retreat. And I was like, damn, we're gonna have to wait until the couples retreat. That's like another
Yeah.
it's like another 10 episodes. But yeah, apparently it's starting next
Yeah.
week. And if you saw the preview that I saw for David and Michelle and the lie that David comes up with to explain this away, it's so freaking
What
funny.
was it?
Okay, so he said that he meant to text his cousin about some food that she was making him, and that's what he meant, that he was going to eat it all up. It's like,
I'm embarrassed.
Asia said, at least that shows you he's not used to lying. So maybe he's like just a really good guy. I was like, yeah, maybe.
I had Nicole on last week, and she's like, David is a good guy, but she feels like he's putting it on. And I can kind of tell, I can see what she means by that. But,
Definitely.
Until he does whatever
Yeah,
it is.
I've thought that most of the season, because it's impossible for you to be smacked down this many times and just to be like, but I'm really going to keep trying. Like, okay, yeah, like that's what you're saying for the camera. But in his inner monologue, he's like, I wish this woman would get lost. If you unhappy, leave, because I want to leave, but I'm not going to leave. So kudos to him for keeping it cool as much as he has. But yeah, I think most of it is an act. I don't even think he's really that into Michelle. Even if she was willing to give it a try, I don't know if he would even go forward with it.
I mean, I bought into it. I mean, see, episode 1, I was just like, okay, this guy is like
I think up to a certain, from episode 1, yes, I think when he saw her at the altar, he was all for it. But then when she just keeps picking on him, she keeps doing all this and that. I think maybe at that honeymoon moment where he's like, he has to walk off, I think at that point it was like, maybe this isn't for me, but I'm just gonna keep smiling for the camera and maybe do some undercover texting with Madison. if this was, now let me turn the tables on you, Tane, and ask you, how long has this been going on, if you had to guess, with David and Madison? Yeah.
It started at the honeymoon. I think
so?
From the working out, and whenever he mentioned it to Michelle when he said, "Oh, I work out," and she's like, "Oh, you work out with Michelle?" And he's like, "Yeah, a couple of days a week or whatever." I think that's been going on. And then it's so sad when there's something missing in your partner and you find it in someone else and they're in close proximity and they just seem like the greatest thing because they have that thing that your partner doesn't. Because to her, going to the gym is like the indicator that you're a great person, I guess, to her. Yeah. So, I mean, so I think it's been since the honeymoon is when the roots were set.
Okay. And they've been so you think it's been going on for the whole month and a week?
Yes.
So they've been, if not, canoodling, they've been at least flirting heavily, probably over text.
I actually think they haven't done anything. They're hyping that. Yeah, they're hyping that up. Yes. Okay. I think they've been texting each other. They've been talking on the treadmill Tuesdays. They have that. Treadmill Thursdays, cardio day. They've been doing all of that talking. There's been we've crossed the line a little bit conversation, but I don't know that they've done anything physical.
So you think this text that we're gonna get is like a anticipation? I can't wait to eat you up, or whatever he says.
He got excited. But that's the thing. Do we even know it was to Madison? Well, it was Alan in the preview who said he's been giving in to urges.
Yeah, I don't know what. I kind of do and I kind of don't want to figure out what that was.
It's ice cream. Ice cream, Jason.
Yeah, I just, there was a pint of ice cream sitting in the freezer, and I couldn't help myself. I kept going. I ate the whole pint. I'm hoping that's what it is. Do you know MAFS, their editing jobs? And I feel like probably, I don't know, if I was to guess, like 75% of that still to come preview is like, I feel like it's the Where Are They Now thing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's where we're going to get most of that content.
Yeah.
I do feel like the Couples Retreat might be interesting.
Yeah.
Because when we get Alan throwing his temper tantrum and punching cabinets, I think that might be the Couples Retreat. I'm not sure. Not positive.
Yeah, that's true. Because he's hugging MM.
Yeah, it seems like they're at some like cabin or some some place that's not where they usually are. So my guess is that happens at the retreat, and then a lot of the other stuff is the Where Are They Now special.
Okay. Yeah, because where are we now? 28 days to decision day. So that's not, too far or whatever. So, okay. My second point is when you had Pascal on your show, he said something. You asked him, you're for the mess. And we talked about the love. And you said, oh, are we going to get love? And Pascal lied to our faces and said, yes, we are going to get the love. But he said something that makes me think that Camille and Thomas are going to say yes. He said, you're going to get mature love.
Yeah,
and Thomas is the oldest person. And I'm like, it's not Ikechi. So
you took mature to mean as in like
older.
And got you.
Yeah, wise, respectful. So I've been hanging on to that because I'm like, that's the only thing that makes me think that they might say yes. Because why would the pastor lie?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer that Camille and Thomas are going to say yes. I feel like I'm pretty much locked, set in stone, that Camille and Thomas are saying yes. I do feel like yes, that has to be what Pascal was talking about on our show, because unless there's a dramatic, like apocalyptic upswing for one of these couples, it's over for 4 out of 5 of these couples at the 1 month.
Yes, it is, and which
is sad unless you think about the fact that it's a better average than last season.
0.
Yeah, like not even a hope of one last season after like week 2 of the marriages, unless you count whatever Becca and Austin were doing, which is just like one of we gotta do an off-season podcast about this. What are the biggest mysteries of MAFS? To
Yes.
me, whatever was going with Austin is
Yeah.
like number two. Number one is why Eris didn't like Jasmine.
Yes.
That's number one for me.
Yes. Actually, that's a good question. Which is the biggest mystery?
Yeah,
Eris or
I think if we really think, I think we could probably come up with like 5 to 10 good mysteries that have yet to be solved in the MAFS universe.
oh my lord. But I don't know. They kept saying this is the best season, this is the best season, and now I know it's just PR. I just wonder why they said that.
Yeah. I mean,
Ugh.
it's like if you you watch Survivor and it's like Jeff Probst every year is like, this is the best season I've ever had the privilege of blah blah, unless he doesn't say it, and that means it's like real trash. And it's like one of the more recent seasons, like he didn't say nothing and it was trash. But I feel like Married at First Sight has to come out and say like this is a great season. This season has love. They don't tell us there's going to be one couple that falls in love,
Yeah.
but technically
Yeah.
they can say that and tell the truth. They could, and I think about the fact that last season we took the show from 2 hours to 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We had a big announcement for it and everything in the
Mm-hmm.
preseason.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're back to 2 hours and no one said anything about it. Like we're 2 hours, and that just tells me that last season was so devoid of content. They were just like, there's just nothing here. Like we have to cut it to 90 minutes because we got nothing. We got nothing.
Yeah, it's still entertaining. I think that's the last season wasn't entertaining, but this season is entertaining. And
Yeah.
like you said, we're at the point where we already know where everybody stands now and what everybody's going to say in decision day. So sometimes it does feel like we're watching and we're going through the process, but we already know there's no hope and there's nothing else. But there's all these things that they dropped the trailer at the right time. So
Oh yeah.
we're just there and just anticipating. So
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, we've had these seasons where literally nothing is going on. Like everyone is at like a standstill, and we're just watching the same conversations happen over and over and over again. It's the good seasons where yes, you can see where everybody's going, but there's still great content to be
Yeah.
had. Like if I think about season 16, you mentioned Nicole and Chris. Like
Yeah.
at that point, it was. I mean, no shade to Nicole, but like that was a boring season because you knew where everybody was going, and they had the same conversations over and over and over
Yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what's wrong with Eris? We still don't know. He still won't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like after the 5th time we hear that conversation, like I don't need to hear it anymore. But
Yeah.
like at least now I feel like in this season it's entertaining because we're still getting new stuff. We're still getting new things happening. So for that, I'm thankful that it still keep my attention. Now me and Mari and Asia this week on our podcast you mentioned season 17. We had a debate. I found season 17 to be entertaining because especially at the point where nobody gave a fuck anymore. They were just like they were throwing slings and arrows, and it was all out warfare. At the point where it became a gender war, I was entertained. I don't know about anybody else, but I was entertained. And they were dangling Chloe and Michael in front of our faces, like, "Hey, this is a success," even though it definitely wasn't. So I was still entertained. It's not the level of this season, but I was still like, okay, like I'm showing up every week, even if I didn't have to podcast about it, I'd still show up.
I haven't listened because I try not to muddy my thoughts before we record, but no, Jason. It was not I can't be filled with fury and rage for a show I'm not getting paid for any way in any shape or form. Watching these people think that I'm a fool. They're basically calling me a fool every week, and I was like, no, I'm not entertained. And the gender war just became I'm watching they were the oldest cast. And we were so excited. Well, is this cast older?
Well, this cast is probably older, I think.
Older, okay. And we're just watching these people and we're like, okay, where's the maturity? Where's the no? And the pieces, the math wasn't mathing, so no,
that's what I love, Tane. I love just the like, oh my god, like they are terrible people. They are all nonsense. Like that's what I'm here for. That's what pulls me in. I don't care about no love. I'm just like, I just want to see them tear each other apart. And like, especially when we get to the reunion of it all, everything just devolves into chaos. I'm like, yes, like give it to me, feed me the Emily going raging off about Brendan.
Ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent-free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, and they all mess with our hormones. Then there's the natural hormonal changes our bodies go through. There's perimenopause, there's menopause, it's a lot. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But I have good news for you. we don't have to suffer through any of this anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code AltarCallMAFS at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code AltarCallMAFS, that's AltarCallMAFS, for 15% off today.
And I love it. So, that's where I'm at with it anyway.
Man. JC, you gotta unpack that. What is it that you love?
Need some extra therapy sessions maybe to figure out why I love mess and chaos and want to watch everything burn. I just want to watch the world burn sometimes.
All right, let's get into the episode. So I hope, everyone had a beautiful start of the week the way David was having a beautiful day and just walking down the street. I almost wanted the Sesame Street theme song to come on because he's just like...
I mean, it's a weird theme of the season of David's vlogging journey just throughout his days. Like, we have seen so many diary cams, this man just living his life. And, hey, guess where he was going? The gym. Like, guess who he might have been going there to meet?
Treadmill Tuesday.
His gym buddy. So maybe that's why he had a smile on his face,
Listen, guys, I have never told you that I'm the best person or best human, but I've said it before. Toxic positivity is a thing.
Yeah.
You cannot be that happy in life. I don't care. It's annoying. But anyways, David is having such a beautiful day. Is not having a beautiful day. She finds out that Ike has moved out. He's not picking up her calls, not texting. This was the beginning of me being upset because I'm like, why are you texting that man? If he wants to leave, let him leave and let it be. Enjoy this apartment by yourself. But
it's just the beginning for in this episode of like, why do I want more for you than you want for you? Like, do not go chasing after this baby man, like this sullen teenager. He is not worth your time. I find myself saying that in every session where she's like, well, I don't know, I just still want to give it a chance. I'm like, no, let it go.
So we start with Carla, and since Carla has all this free time from the mutual... Oh, you guys can see me, but air quotes, mutual separation.
It was a conscious uncoupling of Carla and her job.
She's playing with her sound baths, and her sister Evie stops by. She has so many sisters. I honestly don't know who we've seen before or not at this point.
Because she's like, oh, you haven't been here? That must have been one of the other sisters. Like, she forgot that this girl hadn't been to the apartment yet.
That is true. And then she tells us that she's been doing her client's hair. We actually see footage of her cutting her client's hair. Jason, is she legally allowed to do hair at her home?
Is this apartment licensed as a hair salon? We don't know. But they shot this whole thing. We're just like, there is nothing of substance here. Like, I guess we'll just show this in a flashback. I guess to have her mention that happened, and we'll just show that it actually did happen. Because there was nothing of substance here. But I listen, if she's that good and she can get people to come to her, more power to her.
I mean, good for her. But she tells her sister that she was reflecting in her relationship and how does she want it to grow. She wants to feel desired, wanted, all of the things Juan already said he doesn't have. And since Juan is structured and she is not, she waits for the universe to write her business plans. And she thinks that she can learn from that, and she's thankful for that. So her plan is she's going to use this to connect with him, which I think was smart. You basically talking about business is talking dirty to Juan. So,
I guess I'm just like, so Carl, like, to me, the whole Carl and Juan and this whole episode is just like, okay, what's happening? Why am I hearing a constant infomercial for Carla's new business? That's what this whole episode was. There was no talk of relationship. There's no talk of marriage. Every conversation went to Carla's business. So much like we only talked business. So I was like, is Carla just like, well, I'm not going to get the marriage I wanted, so I might as well get some promo in.
Yeah.
Pick Juan's brain about business, because there was zero talk about their relationship. Yeah. There was no expert visit Everyone else met with an expert. Carla
Yeah.
and Juan, no expert visit. So I'm like, what is going on here? And why, if this is the level of talk we're getting, why are Juan and Carla still on my screen?
So
They should be asked to leave by production. Like, if y'all aren't gonna talk about your relationship, then I don't know why you're here.
I asked Nicole this last week. I was like, why don't they just go? Like, save
Mm-hmm.
us all the trouble and all that. And apparently there's financial repercussions and stuff like that. But the 1 month anniversary, that was my beef with Juan, was just business, business, business. And I agree with you. If I'm not going to get a marriage, I might as well get something out of this. And I might as well get all the business promo that I can get,
Yeah.
from this. But on the flip side, if I'm thinking positive, I think if she gets him to that space, because I think it worked. We're going to talk about it later, but she's like, oh, I see a different side to her. Like, she has actually a plan. And then it makes his head kind of turn. And regarding the expert's visit, I think their visit is next week when he's crying, because in previous previews, Pia, I think, is who their expert is going to be. And she said something about having lying about a sexual relationship.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was more MAFS editing, and maybe it's not really Pia there, but you have a point. Like, maybe there was so much content in this episode we had to put
Mm-hmm.
off their expert visit to next episode. So I could definitely see where that would be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But an expert visit, like, for what? But if there is a some scandal lie about sexual relations, that's what I need from Juan and Carla. I need something to keep me invested in this story. Otherwise, I'm tired of hearing about her hair Pilates sound bath studio.
So again, can't remember, but I think I said they would probably have sex at some point. So my interpretation of the preview is that they had sex and they were lying about it.
I could definitely see that. I can definitely see that being a thing because for the last 2 episodes, we have not heard Carla mention affection or anything else because that's what she was asking for 2
Yeah.
episodes ago, and now we haven't heard anything else about it. So maybe she did end up getting that affection. I don't know why or how it ends with Juan breaking
Bawling his
down
eyes out.
and bawling with her like kind of rolling her eyes like, oh my god, like, really, dude, you're being dramatic. So I'm very, very interested to see how we get there, because from
Mm-hmm.
what the preview would tell us, like, she asks him to go meet her parents and he starts
Mm-hmm.
bawling. Like, that's what the preview wants you to think. So I'm very, very interested to see what that's all about.
Oh my God. MASH will make you paranoid. I'm second guessing
Oh
everything
yeah,
because I'm like, what if
yeah.
it's like, well, I don't think this is going anywhere. I probably shouldn't meet your parents.
Yeah, he's like, oh my god, you thought that we were at that stage? Like, we're nowhere near that. Oh my god, like, have I been leading you on? Like, he just starts breaking down and crying because Carla has told us several times, this person has, I have to know, I have to be
Mm-hmm.
100% certain before
Mm-hmm.
someone meets my parents. I'm like, why do you think you're certain that Juan is the one? Because I don't think any of us see that.
Yeah, he said he wasn't attracted to you.
Yeah,
And
like,
then if you were secretly having sex and he said he wasn't attracted to you publicly, why would you want to
that's
introduce
not
that to
good.
your parents?
Yeah, that's not good either. He's
Hmm.
publicly denying you. He's publicly, saying
Hmm.
that you guys haven't been intimate, but you have. I don't think that's what you want. So
No, it's not.
I'm very, very curious about what the real story is with
Okay,
Juan.
so two things we're looking forward to next week is what is the shift and why do you suddenly want to introduce him to your parents? And one, why are you crying that
Why
hard?
like bawling, like like sobbing, like is what we're, what I would describe that as.
I can't do this anymore.
Oh my god! Like, are you acting? Like, is this dramatic? Like, what's happening here?
All right. So EKG and MM. Pascal has hopped onto the next flight to Chicago, but I didn't realize at this point that all the experts were here, so maybe it was
Yeah,
already scheduled.
we're
So
down anyway. Like, we're supposed to meet you all together at the same time, like, earlier, but I guess we have to separate you and talk to you, like, one on one.
yeah, one on one.
Dr. Pepper is like, yeah, you guys take that. I'm gonna take the other, like, other easier ones because
So
that's all.
my guess was that EKG probably asked for Pascal, which
He would. That makes
yeah,
a ton of sense. Yeah.
yeah. So which is why it's not. I appreciate that they have like a black man on there because sometimes the relatability. Oof, that was a lot to say. Thing. So I do like that they separated them because EKG always comes ready to fight. He does not come with his walls down, and I think with Pascal, he'll probably just a little. I mean, he got in Dr. Pierre's words, spicy, but
Mhm.
not as much as others. But I laughed when Pascal was like, "I have to go because something isn't adding up with the Keiichi's behavior." I'm like, "Well,
Keiichi is self-sabotaging. It's like, yeah, no kidding.
that's what they want to call it." But okay. So he says that he moved out because he didn't feel safe. And that was his wife. And Pascal is like, "When did this start?" And he's like, "After the honeymoon." And then he said, Jason, "She came in for a husband, and I don't even think it mattered who it was."
I mean, so here's the thing, right? MM already told him, like, because this came up before. She's like, no, like, I like you,
Mm-hmm.
and so like I want to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Why she likes him, we don't know. I'm not sure. I did mention on my on our podcast
Mm-hmm.
that MM is one of the most open people I think I've
Mm-hmm.
seen do Married at First Sight. She is she was ready to come in here, arms open, fully ready
Mm-hmm.
to accept whoever she got, unless she got a Chris
Chris.
level jerk. Then I think she was going to try and make it work. She was going to go full steam ahead. Yes, she is very, very ready and very open for this, and I do think that has caused her to be like to move fast. It's like she wants to move at a good clip, a good
Mm-hmm.
pace, and but that's not what Ike wants. Ike wants someone that Ike can lead. Ike wants
Mm-hmm.
someone that he can come in with his flowery, fluffy language and have some woman just go gaga for him. And when he didn't get that, and he mentioned, yeah, it all went downhill after we got back from the honeymoons,
Mm-hmm.
aka when he saw her
Her
ballin' ass
apartment.
apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and he got intimidated. He
Mm-hmm.
realized like he wasn't, in MM's words, he wasn't even no dummy. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's when things started going downhill for
Yeah.
Ike. So
Yeah.
like that, it's so clear and transparent what's going on with Ike. Like
Yeah.
only Ike is the only one that can't see it. Like Ike's the only one that can't see what's going on.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, by the way, no one beats Shawnee's. But I always say
Mm,
that I always say that those are the best kind of people because this experiment requires you to be open. But also, I just didn't understand what he was saying because that is the premise of the show. It didn't matter who it was. You're supposed
totally.
to just make it work with the
Yeah.
person that you're with, at least give them a chance
Yeah. And
to find out who they are.
Like Ike was like, yeah, it didn't seem like it mattered who I was. Like she just wanted to keep moving forward. She asked me if I wanted to move in with her. And Pascal was looking at him like, yeah, like that's great. Like that's what we want. Or we ask for Ready for a Sight participants, like
Mm-hmm.
people that are ready to when you all get married, you are
Yeah.
married. Like we want y'all to act like you're married and do all
Yeah.
the things that married people do
Mm-hmm.
because that's the way to get the best results. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, MM is the most open that I've ever seen, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And she is ready to move full steam ahead, move forward. The problem is Ike is not communicating. Ike is intimidated. And he doesn't know how to respond
Yeah.
to MM, who is a strong, independent woman, because he wanted somebody that he could lead around
Yeah.
with his poetry and his art and all of his like his flowery, the fluffy language.
Yeah. That he thought that he was better than. And that's the thing.
Yes.
I'm not gonna act like I don't understand what he means when he says that, oh, it could have been anybody. But like you mentioned, she has given him the reassurance that now I know a little bit of you. I do actually like you and want to be married to you.
Yeah.
So, but that's not enough for him, or he's not listening because he doesn't want to hear it. So he says 3 days into the marriage, like she's like, get into the shower with me. 4 days is like, will you move in with me at the end of this? And he's like, I don't know you. I was like, okay, you don't know her, but according to Emma, which no one else seems to bring up, he put her hands on on his private parts during the honeymoon. Did you
I
know her then?
Taint, I need someone to hold this man accountable, hold his feet to the fire
Yes.
in any way, because we've had, I don't know if it got cut. I
Yeah.
don't know if we're waiting for the reunion to talk about this,
Yes.
but like when MM brought that up to Pia and Pia didn't go, so I like you like she just said that you put her hand in your crotch. Like, so how
Yes.
does that jive with what you're saying here? Like no one has done that yet. We have now met with Pastor Cal. We met with Pia again. No one has mentioned this. So
Even an after party.
yeah, and after like and listen, props to Keisha
Yeah.
for I'm sorry, Rudy as me
Rudy for going deep.
yeah, props to her for trying to hold his feet to the fire. We'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
I need someone to bring that up at some point, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna consider that part a failure.
Yeah.
Like because for them not to be like, you know, and just to bring up in general
Yes.
his behavior. at
Mhm.
the start of the honeymoon, where when we're all at the honeymoon, we're all gathered, everyone is like jealous of Ike and
Yes.
Emem of like, you guys are all over each other. I wish we had that. And
Mhm.
and that's exactly what Ike wanted, right? He wanted to
Yes.
be the winner of the show at that point. But and let's not forget they were in a pool at the honeymoon,
Yeah.
kissing, hugging. He was all about it. But
Yeah.
now after he finds out more about MM and finds out like, oh, this is like a like serious like person that I'm not gonna be able to fool
Mhm.
with my word salad that I give all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it started going downhill for him. So
Yeah.
I need someone to bring that up to him. Like, hey, like you
Yeah.
said I don't know you, this and that. But on the second, third days, you were all about it.
Yeah. I know we keep saying that it started after the apartment. If I had to pick another time when it happened, it was when he told the story about working with the youth or the kids, and she was still staring at him, and he's like, "If that don't move you, I don't know what else is going to." That
Yeah.
was the beginning.
Yeah, and that's part of his shtick, right? That's part of his that's part of his repertoire that he carries in
Yeah.
that stupid little backpack all the time. His dumb little stories, his dumb little poems of like I work with the children, and he tells meet my dad kicking me out, and these young college men got me, and for MM just be like, okay, like cool, not to be like, oh my god, you're so brave, you're so this, you're so that, which I'm sure
Yeah.
is what he wants.
Yep.
For her not to give him that response that he wants is really a turn off to him. And you're right.
Yep.
That is also when it started, when they got to know each other more, and his shtick wasn't working for her.
Yeah. And then he saw the apartment. He was like, "Damn, she rich too." So that it
She
was
got
too
it
much.
all.
It was too much.
Yeah.
So Pascal asks, "What is the thing you don't like?" And he says, "I don't like the attitude, the personality. He makes me feel small, like I don't have enough, and she makes him feel like an extra and feels belittled." And then he says, "Have I disrespected her? Not once."
Ooh. Mm.
The
How
delusion.
the delusion projection when he talks about this, she belittles me, she makes me feel small. You have done that to yourself, sir. Like no one has done
Mhm.
that to you but you. That's your own
Mhm.
thoughts and your own insecurities come into play in your head, because no one else has seen it.
Yeah, because if she had done it, they would definitely show it.
Yeah, of course.
And Pascal didn't take off his glasses, but we got a Pascal face, and he's like, "What?" And he was like, "Wait, wait, hold up. Have you called her an asshole?" And then he just like, "Well, when you act like an asshole, I'll call you an asshole." And then
The
Pascal
look
was,
the look on Pascal's face is like he was literally it was literally like someone punched him. He was like, whoa, he literally jumped back, like, really, did I just hear what I thought I heard? Like,
I think Pascal was like, "You're really gonna double down on this,
double
really?"
down. Crazy. And then Ike's like, well, yeah, I guess I did disrespect her. Like, yeah, you think?
Oh man, this is so funny. Then he's like, "Well, it's a side of her that I haven't seen." And Pascal is like, "If there were noticeable changes, like she was willing to change, would there be a possibility of a resolution that they needed for growth as well? Because people need to know how they're coming across." This is where my side eye started because I'm like, okay, where are we headed with this? And Pascal says that Ikechi needs to know how he's coming across to her, and she needs to know his perception of how she's coming across. And Ikechi needs to be completely open and vulnerable, that he sees the emotions in Ikechi's eyes, and Ikechi's like, those are allergies. I don't know. Was he tearing up?
I don't know what that was, but Ikechi's like brand of humor. I don't know what if that's what you would call it. He's like, oh, it's
Mm.
allergies. I don't know what his mindset was. I don't know if he was like embarrassed for being
Yeah.
called out by Pastor Cal. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Pastor Cal is just seeing things and he doesn't actually see like him welling up with tears. Maybe that's what Pastor Cal wants to see. I don't know, but it's just like I just don't think. And like you said, like I want to make sure that she knows how she's coming across to you and this and that. I kind of think everybody knows what they need to know. Like
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything else to be known, to be seen. I think everyone is kind of where knows where they are, and
Yeah.
MM is the only one that is, I don't know,
Still open.
open. That's a good word for it. I didn't want to call it delusional because I don't think MM deserves that. But for MM to think there's some way to fix this,
Yeah.
Ash will talk to Dr. P about, which I don't know how that could happen, but
Mhm.
good for MM for still being willing to try.
I'm not there yet, Jason. I'm not there yet. But he's like, yes, Pastor. And Pastor Cal is like, don't gaslight me.
Yeah, because he knows Ike's level of bullshit for Ike to be like, yes, Pastor, like he told Peter, like I'm here to be fixed. Like
Yeah.
he knows at this point what Ike's like thing is. Like, okay, yeah, yes, Pastor. Like, shut up, Ike. Like, ugh.
Hmm. Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, it's easier to have the conversation with you, but not the other conversation." And it's this little doesn't qualify as a microaggression, but the way he refers to MM, like not the other conversation, or last week when he says, "You think I'm going to sit next to that?" Like these
Yeah,
little things that he chooses to say because, like he said on After Party, he knows he calls himself woke. He's a woke black man, and he knows the things that he's saying. So you are saying it on purpose
right.
to
You
intentionally hurt her.
you are making those digs on purpose. You
Hmm.
are putting her down, making her feel less than. That is
Hmm.
your plan. It's not you're not unfamiliar, you're not unaware. So that's even worse than maybe it is even worse than being unaware is what he's
Yeah,
doing. Like he's a terrible guy. He's a terrible person. So yeah,
yeah.
all these little like sayings he has, which I think he thinks makes him look so cool, like are not just not there. Like not it's not there.
Oh, they do say marriage puts a mirror in front of you, but also the cameras. I hope he learned something from this because maybe he just wasn't aware that this is how he is.
Yeah, I have a feeling Ike is someone that even seeing the behavior will justify it to himself and to the audience that in his mind he was doing the right thing.
Actually, we have proof that you're right because After Party is filmed afterwards and he's still like, yeah,
And toes
I did
down.
this because this and you don't know this. So, yeah,
Yeah, and we've seen enough of Ike to know when he's saying something just to move on from the conversation and to be like,
all the
"Yep, you're
time.
right." Yeah, he's like, "Yep, you're right," and just can we just move on from this because I want to be done with this conversation. And he does that in After Party.
Yep, he does. We get the security camera view thing of Madison and Alan planned a date night, which is good to hear. They watched a game at the bar, and as Madison is washing her face, he puts his backpack on and says that he's going to his house. Already a no-no. And she's like, "You've been drinking. It's a bad idea." And he's like, "No, it's just 15 minutes. I'm just going to do it." He walks out. She calls him an idiot. And listen, I don't know what this drinking and driving thing is, but I don't care what it is. Drinking and driving is a no-no. There's
Yes, there's no
nothing else to say.
there's no justification. There's
Yeah.
no but. There's no this or that.
Yeah.
It's wrong, right? Because like Alan, bro, like you were an A+ for most of the audience here, and then you go do this nonsense, and for him to come in. And from what we saw with Madison, like, oh, you just think you're invincible. He's like, hey, that's just how I live my life. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so with you saying things like that,
Yeah.
obviously you are not in a condition to drive. And
Yeah.
listen, if you've had one drink, two drinks, I don't care how many drinks, like,
Yeah.
it's not a good idea, especially
Yeah.
when you are already in the safety and security of your apartment.
Yeah.
Like you are at the home you're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
For you to choose to leave after you've had in these many drinks, like yes, like that's the justification of every drunk driver. Like I didn't think I had that much. I thought
Yeah.
I'd be fine.
Yeah.
That's what you hear from drunk drivers. So
Yeah.
it's just like it's a very unfortunate situation because we all universally I think loved Alan, still love Alan. He made like a terrible decision, bad move, and what is the real reason that he decided to leave? Because it doesn't feel like because his reasoning is, oh, I just had a big thing to do for work the next day. I need to be in my zone. Like
Yeah.
that just does not jive to me. Like it felt like a all of a sudden move for him to like pick up his stuff and leave because Madison was surprised by it. So what else was there that made him decide to leave?
The urges.
Those urges he's talking about. Yeah.
The ice cream was waiting in the freezer.
I agree. Listen, maybe maybe we're talking about the David and Madison side. Maybe there's an Alan Michelle side that we haven't even thought about yet. Like maybe he's going to go meet Michelle. Who knows? But oh man, it's just a really, really, really bad look for Alan. And
Yeah.
then his reasoning later does not help the situation at all because he doubles down. Like he's just like, no, it's all
Yeah.
fine. It's never a good idea. And Matt from the perspective we get from Madison,
Yeah.
it's even worse thinking
Yeah.
of like what she goes through in those situations. But no
Yeah.
matter who it is, no matter what the situation is, it's never a good idea to get behind the wheel when you've had.
Yeah. And it's even dumber when you say it's just 15 minutes away. It takes
Yeah.
1 second to kill somebody. So don't do that. Alan. And I just felt so embarrassed because I was writing so hard for Alan last week because Nicole is not a fan of Alan. I'm like, no,
Yeah, I heard
Alan
that. I
is.
was like, wow, like, Nicole was coming hard.
That was surprising.
I
But
was like,
maybe she might have a
um,
point. And then he does this the week after. I'm like, God damn it.
yeah, I mean, listen, it hasn't been 100% batting average for Allen, right? Like Allen
Yeah.
still has his perks. He had that thing with the football game where he was hung over and
Mm-hmm.
was like borderline rude to Madison,
Mm-hmm.
basically telling her like, "Oh, go without me, I don't care," and then just like, yeah. So Allen hasn't been batting 100%, but I think
Mm-hmm.
probably if you were to poll the audience, I think his popularity rating is probably up there with like an MM or like a David, mostly because we feel sorry for David. But I think he's probably up there in the popularity ratings for this cast.
Yeah,
And
I
to
agree.
see him do this is just like it's a really a hit to his Q rating, if you want to call it that.
And the thing is, it's not like a minor hit. It's like a big thing. Like, it's not like a white lie. It's a drinking and driving situation. But come back, Alan.
Yeah.
Michelle and David. Dr. Pepper is in town. That's who they get. I don't know where they're meeting. It didn't look like the clubhouse, but I think
It
they're
looked like a
tired of
coffee
meeting
shop.
them at their apartment. Were they
Yeah,
in a coffee shop?
I think so. Like the person want to change the scenery. They're like, we want to get out and about. We don't want to be in the community room in your apartment complex. We want to go out and explore the town of Chicago. Maybe I think Dr. P is from Chicago. Maybe Dr. P has
Yeah.
some great recommendations. Of like, hey, these are we can go to have our meetings. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of different areas they were all meeting in.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I could do with the
Yeah.
change of scenery too, but I'm not gonna lie. I am sick and tired of hearing about David and Michelle's whatever the hell it is because it's
Mhm.
just boring at this point. We all know where it's headed or where how it's gonna end, but let's play along with them. Um, Dr. Pepper says that she's not here to critique, and then proceeds to critique Michelle, and it's like
Like, no,
there's
girl, you should be here to critique because she needs some critiquing. Um, what did you think of the Dr. Pepper game plan? Because Dr. Pepper came into this episode like, I don't care what else is going on. I'm here to talk about trauma and childhoods. Like that's what you're going to talk about for every couple. Like I will talk a little bit about your problems, but I'm going to
yeah.
transition it. I'm going to find a way to transition it into childhood traumas.
I don't know if I've said this on the pod or if I was talking to a friend. I personally feel like Dr. Pepper is a little checked out. Like she's just checking the box and going out. I think exactly what I wrote was like Dr. Pepper was like, that's not my problem. Y'all talk to each other and figure out what you're gonna do.
It reminds me of every decision day where someone talks about the terrible issue they face, and then we just get a smash cut to like, I don't give a fuck what you just said. It's time for you to make a decision. Like
Let's
we're
get
not going to address that.
that's
It's
true.
time for you to make a decision.
Well, the time has come.
Yeah,
You're gonna stay
like
married,
we're
even though
like,
you just said he broke your heart and you think
yeah,
you're so little now.
like the thing is like, I don't know if I'm gonna say yes or no, but he is a awfully abusive, monstrous person, and he does this to me every day. Dr. Pepper's like, okay, well, what's your decision? Not going to address that at all.
So this is where I had a problem, and I wanted to see if I'm reaching or what you think about this. Dr. Pepper told Michelle that her reaction to him is not about David, but it's about what he represents. And from my understanding, what he represents is her childhood where she was so poor, so broke. Isn't that insulting to David? Like everyone keeps saying it all the time, and I'm like, David, stand up, and tell these people to fuck off. Like I'm they're insulting you, and he's like,
you,
thank you for being open. What?
you, you don't want this poor, broke, down on his luck man to bring you back down to poverty. That's what I'm hearing, right, Michelle? That David is going to put you in the poorhouse. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. David's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I am not like, I have 2 jobs. I am doing just fine. Yes, I live with my parents in their basement. Yes. But I am not this like poverty
Down.
stricken person it's gonna suck up all her money and just bleed her dry of money. I think, and you're right, because that is the introduction we get all the time. Like, and the experts do nothing to disavow her of this notion of like, but he's not poor. Like he like he's not broke. Like, right? Like, right, David? Like, show me your bank account.
Say it.
Like, yeah.
But you see, here's the thing. Let's even assume he was poor. It's etiquette. Like, none
Right.
of them
Yeah.
are saying, do you realize that every time you say this, you're kind of implying that he is like, because
Michelle
she
would be like,
says,
I'm not implying.
I'm saying,
I think he's broke.
we lived on the wrong track. What is it? The wrong side
Wrong
of the
side of the tracks.
tracks.
Yeah.
We had different payments for food. We had this, and I'm just
And
afraid to
that's
go
David.
back.
That's how David lives.
And I'm
David lives on the wrong side of the
like,
track.
in the basement. And I'm watching it and I'm like, nobody, no one thinks anything is wrong with this. But that really, really like pissed me off that no one was saying anything about that. But I don't know. They keep talking more and more about it, and David keeps thanking her, and I'm like, why am I mad? Like he's he seems to be fine with it. He does share that he was an outcast. You know, when he was in private school, they took him out, and he was like like one of the few minorities, and he was just
Yeah.
with other white kids. And
Do you see Michelle's face though when he says he went to private school? She's like,
you
"What?
did,
Like,
you could.
you need money for that? Like, how did you do that?"
Like, I think I tweeted out, I was like, y'all think this is the first time she heard this? Because
Yeah, she was. She's like, "How did you afford that? Because your family live like garbage. You live like trash.
she get a scholarship. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
oh, you scholarship boy. You went to private school. You
Uh,
still don't have a good job. Like, I'm surprised you didn't go that route."
Oh my god. But anyways, I was already just pissed off, and this is what this season is doing to me. I'm being entertained, but I'm being filled with rage. But
Those are the best seasons, Tane. Those are the best seasons.
okay, chaos lover. Some of us want peace. Um Michelle is does never bites her tongue. Like she just flat out says, "It feels like David is 10 years behind me, lifestyle wise."
Bruh,
I'm like,
10 years?
another insult.
A whole decade behind you? Like, but I do need to know. I need to know, number one, what is David's job? I think we've heard like a couple different things. Like he's a foreman in construction, I think I've heard, or he works in construction, and also he's a social worker of some sort.
Yes. Oh god, I
So
got to
I
get
think
this right
yeah, I think
because
you've heard that, but I want to hear more about that because he in this conversation mentioned something about getting a promotion.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, what does that look like? Like, and he's like, but he does also say, like, yeah, I don't have the savings right now. I'm like, oh, like, I think we were all kind of assuming, like, yeah, he lives in his parents' basement, but he's saving money for that house. And he was like, nah, I kind of like, I drink that money up. Like, I spend that on beer, on kegs. I party with that money. So it's like, ugh, like, that's a demerit for you, David.
So I need to get this right because I asked a million times and listeners kept telling me. So I need to know. You're right. He's a construction worker and works in social work. And I guess in the matchmaking special, he told Pascal he's been trying to get into work for the government because of some level of salary or something like that. So
Yeah,
he
I think that's a
finally got
social
in.
worker. That's
Yeah,
a
that's a
social work
social worker
aspect.
job.
Yeah.
So he's in that job now to get to that point. And then Michelle was a social worker. That's why they paired them
Right.
up and she left. So maybe she knows how
She was
broke.
like, that job does not pay enough money. I am out of here.
So, but yeah, so I mean, he says it's one promotion, but David is a talker. And to reiterate, guys, I don't not see where Michelle is coming from, especially since now David has confirmed that he has no savings because, like Jason, I was under the impression his
Ugh.
friend also said if we want to buy a house, he could just have the money. But David verbatim said, "Yeah, I have no savings."
It's like, oh, David, we want to root for you so bad, but you keep doing these things. Like it was just like that. We were like, okay, yeah, he lives in the basement apartment, but it's like a separate basement apartment. Like he's probably got it nicely decorated and all this. And
Yeah,
then we get it's like, oh shit, like yeah,
yeah.
she's kind of right. Damn. But so yes, it's like, oh, Dave, we want to root for you, we want to love you, but
Yeah.
you keep doing these things. It's like, yeah, no, it's not working out at all. But I
Yeah.
mean, he does tell her like, listen, as soon as I get this promotion, I'm gonna, I'm gonna make as much money as you. So like, you can't be shitting on me when we make the same amount of money, right? I think the problem is she wants someone that makes way more than her. She
Mhm.
wants someone that is like a finance bro that is like that can eventually take care of her so she doesn't have to work. I think that's what she's looking for. She's not looking for equality. I think she's looking for someone that is doing better than she is. And then she's like, well, how long is it going to take you to get a 2-flat in Chicago? Which no one on the podcast knew what 2-flat was. We actually looked it up on the podcast to see
Isn't that a 2-bedroom?
No, it's like some weird. It's almost like a duplex. I think is what that is being described as. From what we looked up on the podcast.
Okay.
So and it's like the one that that Asia looked up on the podcast is like a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom type of thing. I don't know what exactly that means. Asia was going to look it up. I didn't.
Okay.
But yeah, she's like, how long would it take you to get a 2-flat in Chicago? I was like, damn, that is very specific. She's looking for a very specific life here. And he's like, oh no, a year or two. I'm like, okay. Like the one that Asia looked up was like $600,000 to buy that house. So I'm like, I don't know, Dave. I think that's a little a positive outlook on how long it's going to take if you have no savings right now.
I think I'm just jealous that they can get a 6-bedroom whatever for 600,000. Never,
True,
not in the
true.
DMV. But
yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think about what you said. If she wants someone, I just think she's shallow. I think Michelle, when she said this was the best expert session, whatever, I'm just gonna ignore her because whatever.
That made me mad, Tane, because
yes,
Pia came here and said the exact same thing to her. You are living out of fear. Yes. You are living out of blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God, Dr. Pepper, this is the best visit you've ever had. I'm like, no, like, stop.
Yes.
Dr. Pia came here and said the exact same thing to you. And you just literally ignored her, accused her of coming after you. Like, so I don't want to hear that this is the best visit you ever had. Like, it annoyed me. It really did.
Thank you for saying it, because I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to get mad again, because I'm like, I'd be mad enough. But yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she was like, oh, I never really put the two together. I was like, Dr. Pierre literally just said the same thing to you. But okay, listen to who you want to listen to. I'm not going to say anything about that.
Right.
So if you know, you know.
We're not going to dive deep into that on this one, folks. Okay.
If you know, you know.
We're going to do like the experts on the decision day. Like, so what's your decision? Like, we're not gonna talk about that.
But I mean, I don't know. For a 38-year-old, I'm just truly disappointed in how not aware Michelle is about herself. Like, she's just blank. She's like a blank space. She doesn't know what she wants. And that's why when you said maybe someone better or not, honestly, I don't even think she's thought that deep. All she's thinking of is the aesthetics of it all. She wants to walk in with someone that everyone's going to be like, oh, we look good. And you're just, because again, her apartment does not reflect everything she's saying. I don't care.
When she's like, how long would it take you to get 2-flat in Chicago? I want to turn around and be like, how long would it take you? Because I see your simple ass apartment. You don't got much better than what I got. The only difference is I live with my family and you don't.
Like, when she spoke about that apartment, what is she going to do when she sees M&M's? Because I'm just like, what? I didn't want to compare them, but the way she keeps shitting on David, all the gloves are off. So,
yeah, on our podcast, I said, this girl, she wants a Sex in the City life. But with David, she's getting King of Queens. Like, that's how she's feeling. Like, she wants a Mr. Big. She's getting a Kevin Heffernan, like that's how she feels about this.
Man. Yeah. You guys go Google the show if you don't know, because we forget sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since King of Queens was on.
That was my show. I love that show.
Oh my God, that's so funny. But I mean, good luck to Michelle. I'm just curious to see who she dates afterwards.
No, bad luck to her. I wish the worst for that lady. She's terrible.
Oh my God. Alan and Madison, they're taking a car ride. I just found it interesting they decided to film it in a car, but okay.
What is that decision? Because that was a production decision of like, we're gonna set the cameras in the car, because I don't know if anyone's ever like watched these type of reality shows. There's a whole rig that gets put up on the windshield of these like 3 cameras. Like, why was that decision made? I don't understand.
For it to be impactful, drinking and driving. So you're driving and talking about.
Yeah. Actually, you got a really good point there. Like, that was somebody's idea of like high art of like, we're gonna put it in a car because we're talking about drinking and driving. Oh, it's gonna be so interesting. You get it? Because we're talking about drinking and driving because we're in a car. Like, okay, we got you.
On the nose.
All right, Montre, we see you. can see you making those decisions.
Still doubling down. He wanted to get a good night's sleep. I'm like, these people don't take marriage seriously because, I mean, the drinking supersedes everything else. But again, going to your house, leaving your apartment with your wife because of a good night's sleep, you didn't even have a fight. I mean,
Mm-mm.
terrible idea. But
Production
like,
production needs to take those keys from them. Take their apartment keys, take their house keys. You should not have the option to run back home, no matter what. Like
yeah.
it's so because we've had it in the recent seasons. It's happened so much. You're like, well, I'm just going to go back home. Whereas before, it's like it never seemed to be an option. Everybody just went to their shared apartment, no matter
Yeah.
what they were fighting or what. Now it just seems like it's so easy to run back home all the time.
They need to put that in the contract. And also, isn't it a 2 bedroom? What is this? I didn't want to wake you up. It's a.
I don't know. Like it feels like it's a cop out. Just like I just wanted to be in my own space, totally away from you.
These people are not ready for marriage. It's like, oh, I tell my husband, you know what? I got to go to work. So I have to leave the house so I don't shower, so I don't wake you. Figure it out.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you don't have a place to go to all the time. But, anyways, he's saying all that. And I'm like, stop defending drinking and driving. And he said something. This is what I wanted to get to. I just don't like being told what I can or can't do.
You should have heard. You should have heard the guffaw on my podcast. It's like you don't want to be told what to do. Like, do you know where you are, sir? Do you know what you signed up for? Like, that is not marriage. Like, if you don't want to, if you don't want to be told what to do, don't get married. Simple as that.
Okay, but also, even if that's it, that's the case. Like, oh, eat your vegetables. Oh, don't have seconds, but not
Mm-hmm.
don't drink and drive. That's
Right.
what.
Like, I don't think you gotta be in a marriage for someone to tell you not to drink and drive. Like, your buddy can tell you the same thing. Like, oh, I don't want to be told what to do. Like, okay, that's such a childish way of thinking. Like, the statement is just childish in and of itself. I don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah,
What?
it is, but it's now become wait, twice is a pattern or is it 3 times? It's a pattern because he did that with the flag football. He
Mm-hmm.
was like, just don't tell me what to do. And it was a petty. And I was kind of like lashing back at you. And I'm like, Alan, there are other times you could do this. When she tells you the whole lifestyle thing, not going to the gym and all that, it shows that basically you're lazy. Stand up for yourself there, but
Mm-hmm.
not when they tell you
Yeah,
not to do this and you're like, don't tell me what to
yeah.
do.
That's what you kind of thought. I was like, this is not the hill to die on. The drinking and driving hill. Like the do you find me attractive hill is the hill that you want to storm and fight for. Not the don't tell me what to do when I'm drinking and driving. Like no,
Oh my
that's
God.
not what we're doing. That's not why. That's not the way to go,
Hmm.
Alan.
All right. MM meets with Dr. Pia, and Dr. Pia asked what she thinks the problem is with EKG, and she's like, I don't think he's ready for marriage. And she says she does want to see him, but with the experts, she's concerned how he's going to react. And Dr. Pia asks, he's called her an asshole. He said all these things. Why do you want to be with him? And I'm like, good question, Pia.
Very good.
And she says, well, because there's a chance that he hasn't realized that these are defensemen. I don't care. Wah, wah, wah. No, sis, we don't want to be with him.
No, this is not. I don't care if it's defense mechanisms, offense mechanisms, whatever the fuck mechanisms it is. This isn't what you want. Like
No.
this man is a 42-year-old man
Mm-hmm.
acting this way, acting like a sullen teenager all the time.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to deal with? Like, I don't think it is. And that's why I say, like, she wants this so bad. She is willing to keep trying and trying and trying, even when everyone can see it's a hopeless case.
Yeah. I felt bad last week when I called it verbal abuse because I'm very careful when you say things like that. But I think the thing everyone is kind of glossing over that I can't get over is he's basically accused her of being a sexual predator. And I can't, I don't know how she can get over it, but I can't. Like, that's just a lot. Knowing fully well what her intention was, it makes it so malicious. And he's put it out there, you can never take that back. And honestly, she took that in stride. I'm just like, I am the girl who has not forgiven Phaedra Parks till today. Every time I see her, I do not like her. I do not wish her well. So, because of the whole thing with Candy that everyone seems to think is so casual, but I'm not a fan of that. If that was the only thing, forget the asshole, forget the other thing. It's just accusing this woman who's just attracted to her husband, showing him that, oh, she wants him. And the minute he said he doesn't want to, because he has that right, absolutely,
Totally.
she backed off and said, I understood. But to keep bringing that up all the time, because and also I feel like his intention is to hurt her and embarrass her,
100%.
I will never forgive him for that. That's my thing.
So, we had this debate on our podcast. Like right now, we had the whole season is not finished yet.
Mhm.
Where is Akechi on the worst husbands list for you? Is he top 5? Is he top 10? Where's he at?
5.
Top 5. Okay.
Yes, he's there with Chris. He's there with Johnny. He's
Do you know who I always forget about on these worst husband lists?
the tall basketball player.
Yes, I
Oh,
always
yeah,
forget
oh,
about
I
him
don't forget him.
until someone brings him up. I'm like, oh yeah, he was terrible. He was the worst. Like I put up my list in our Facebook group last week of like top 10 worst husbands, and people were already having that discussion, and they mentioned Matt. I was like, I forgot about Matt. And where did Matt fall? He fell in 3 for me. I was like, yeah, that guy was awful. He was terrible. And I think for me, Akechi fell in like 6 or 7.
Who's above him?
Michael from DC,
Oh,
Johnny, Chris, Matt. Was Luke in my top 5? I don't remember if Luke was in my top 5. Yeah, it's quite an exercise when you really think about it. When you really think about the history of like, yeah,
we had material.
Yeah, there's some really awful people that have come through these doors. So yes, Ikechi definitely deserves a top 10 spot. Like, and by the time the season's over, he might make it into that top 5 for me.
Yeah.
But it is to be seen.
Yeah, so I don't know. Ikechi is just he might get to my number 1. Who knows?
Yeah, by the time the season's over, who knows? On that still to come though, what did you think? Like, it looked like MM was getting a marriage proposal from someone. Do you think we're pulling a who was it? Jasmine? Was it Jasmine who had this new mystery man?
What was it? Friend boy?
Yeah, who now she's engaged to.
Mm-hmm.
She recently got engaged, so congrats to her. So do you think it's that type of thing? Like, if on the Where Are They Now special, we're going to see someone propose to MM? That's what I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, I think it'll be one of those, and that people have been throwing out theories about MM and Alan because Alan don't play about his MM. He's always writing for her.
That's true.
So I think maybe it's like a play proposal, maybe. That's where I am.
I did like also on that still to come, which I'm guessing also is the Where Are They Now, where
Yeah.
Ike is talking to her. She's like sign the paper. She's like, no, I
No.
don't think I will. It must be the divorce papers, I'm guessing.
And you know what? I support MM's rights and wrongs. Like,
100%. She deserves this moment to be like, hell no.
oh my god, these people. So I want to talk about this conversation. A lot of things pissed me off this episode. So maybe you can decipher it for me. Dr. Pia starts saying something about, talking when she talks to Ikechi. And then I think she responded and was like, you're right. And then she's like, see, you were spicy. And, if you were spicy with me, you might be spicy with him. But I see that, she only reacts. That's what MM was saying. Like, I only react. Like, for the most part, I'm usually quiet, which I have observed, and that is true. And I'm just like, I just let him talk. But I didn't appreciate what Dr. Pia was implying, where she's like, oh, I don't want you to alter yourself because, she's someone who cares and is someone that's passionate, but she maybe shows it in a different way. And I don't know what was happening, and maybe I'm biased, but how did you feel about that conversation?
Yeah, I've seen a few different opinions on this where, Pia's like, yeah, like, because Pia's talking about the dinner where MM went off on him and whatnot. So I last week I was saying, yes, I do kind of see where MM is poking the bear, or as Akechi said, hitting the bear with a stick. But like, it's deserved. That's what he's getting what he's giving. So I didn't really have a problem with it. The problem I have is with Pia basically telling her to wear kid gloves with Ikechi, right? Like, don't be spicy. Like, basically, like, speak nice to him, or he'll be mad at you. Like, that shouldn't have to be the rule for Ikechi to be nice to you. But yes, I do see where the spice comes in because, MM last week was like giving him the vows, like, so how do you feel about these vows now that you barely know me? We're just like, okay, like that's a little poke. And when they're at the picnic and he's like, and he says the dumbass thing about
wanting to be in nature
Yeah,
and
I want to be in nature, playing the game, or being engaged every day.
yeah.
And where she goes, "Do you think you've been doing that?" Like that's a little bit of a poking.
Okay.
And when MM is like, "Yeah, I because she says Ike's line. She's like, I don't even really know him. And then Pia says, well, you don't know him, but you keep calling him my husband, my husband, my husband. And then MM says, well, he is my husband. That's a fact. I was like, ooh, what? Okay, yes. Like with Pia calls, she's like, see, that's a little bit of the spice I'm talking about. And I do see that. I do see it. I see the little bit of
Okay.
spice that MM can give when she's being provoked. Like Ike likes to provoke her. And sometimes I think that's something that Ike and MM have in common. I think they're doing things without even really being aware that they're doing them sometimes. I think most of the time Ike is aware. I think he is
Hmm.
provoking, but sometimes I think the way he responds to things, I don't even think he realizes he's responding in a shitty way. That's
Yeah.
just kind of his nature. I think MM is the same way, where if she is annoyed or irritated, she
Yeah.
will answer with a little bit of spice. Now, that's not to say that the spice is not deserved
Yeah.
to be given to Ikechi. I think
Yeah.
that spice is deserved, and I don't like the fact that Pia is basically telling her like, as even if he's being mean to you, don't react. It's like no, like he just shouldn't be an asshole. Like
Yes.
like that's the thing. Like I wouldn't be giving the spice if he was being an asshole. So
Yes.
like I said, I don't think I like Pia being like, well, just be nice to him even if he's being an ass.
Okay.
Which
I
kind of was
agree
the
with
thing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think MM's and EKG's love language is passive aggressiveness. They're both
Mhm.
passive aggressive.
Yes.
But for Dr. Pia to compare it to her fiance and like, oh, yeah, I need to wait and I speak to him and say this. Do you see that, the way I said it? I was like, your fiance calls you an asshole?
Right. Your
Your
fiance
fiance.
acts like a sullen teenager
Yeah.
and has one word responses to you.
Yeah.
Like if that's the case, I think you need to go, Dr. Pia. Like I know that you just had a baby with that man, whoever he is. But if that's what you're getting at home, I don't know if that's where you should be. Um,
Exactly.
again, look, not saying that that's what Pia's getting, but
Yeah.
uh that's beside the point. I think, like you said, they both can be passive aggressive, but it's about the levels, right? Like
Hmm.
Ike is way, way, way off base. Yes, MM can be spicy, but like I said, it's usually deserved. We should give him the spice.
I think the other angle is, again, trying to remove my bias. I was trying to think of the conversation that they had with Ikechi. And I'm turning it into a gender thing. I'm like, did they have that conversation where they're like, oh, Ikechi, you need to, go tenderly? And maybe he did. And that's why I'm asking you to like check me if I'm wrong. But it's like, I feel like just in the world itself, it's always like women try to cater to this and do that. And be gentle with the men. But I'm trying to think of what Pascal told Ikechi. And I know he said be open, but that's you. But nobody said anything about, come in, be this. I don't know. I feel like the messages were different, but I acknowledge I have a
I,
bias.
I, I guess I kind of think Ike's behavior was so out of pocket.
Hmm.
I don't even think that that was even addressed in the Cal conversation. I think I think Ike is so out there that Pascal was just like he had to convince Ike just to come back. Like it wasn't even about convincing him to be a better person. It was about like, hey, come back and just try to work it out. Like, and see, I think his thing was like, see the side where she's coming from. Like, there was not a talk of like, but you got to stop being an asshole to her. Like, I don't think there was that level of talk because the talk here was just the kind of about come back to the table, see if this thing can work out. I think part of the issue with the experts and I'm trying to my New Year's resolution for 2025 is not to blame the experts as much. I'm trying, but it's tough, right?
Good luck.
Right, right. Because I do think there is some shim shamming going on with some of these
Hmm.
people in these expert, interviews before they get cast, where they
Hmm.
tell them, "Yeah, I'm so open. I want to do this, this, and that," and they talk a good game, but when
Hmm.
it's time to actually play the game, they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of instances where I think you should have been able to see this coming. I think Ike is one of those. Michelle is another one of those. You should have been able to see it coming when you had to literally convince her in the pre matching ceremony, like, hey, what if he doesn't make a lot of money? And she's like, that wouldn't be great. And Pia basically talks her into like if someone makes less than you, you
Yeah.
should have seen at that point Michelle was not the person for you.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to blame the experts as much. but it is hard. And I do think the experts at this point are trying not to scare people away. They're trying not to, because I think back in the day, some of these experts would have given them like a stern talking to. Like I can remember Dr. Viviana giving some stern talkings to at certain points. I can remember Cal doing it. I can remember Pepper doing it back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now we're just kind of like, we don't want to scare him off, so let's not confront him harshly. I think that's kind of where Cal was with Ike in that conversation. Pia can serve some realness from time to time. I think she's our realist expert. That third expert spot is like always the realist person that will tell you like it is.
Yeah.
But I think Pia also may have learned from the Brennan of it all from last season to tread lightly a little bit. You know.
I think there are two things I'll still blame the experts for.
Mm-hmm.
I think they don't need to take risks. I say this all the time. We are at the point in MAFS where we can't take risks. The minute Michelle's initial reaction was, just
it should have been cut. Yeah.
Bye. Like, just let her go. And the other thing is, at what point do they step in and let them go? I
think that's the problem with producing this type of show. When you only have 5 couples, they're scared to do that because they're scared to have lack of content. Now you could be like a international MAFS season and have like 12, 13 couples.
Yeah.
So that when you cut one, it doesn't affect the bottom line that much. But I feel like if we cut 1 of 5, it really kind of affects the show in a really, really negative way. So that's why they're willing to let this play out the whole 8 weeks. And, even though we know that 4 of these couples are DOA, they're like, well, we still gotta play it out. We are producing a television show. So, so it's tough.
If they cut it, maybe we can get 1 hour MAFS shows again.
But they don't want that.
They could do couples cam or something. I don't know.
Lifetime does not want that. Lifetime is like, we want a 2-hour show and we're going to do whatever it takes to give you that 2-hour show.
I guess. Well, we moved to Camille and Thomas. They have no drama that we don't even see them until 47 minutes into the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, for all you lovers of love out there, you got Camille and Thomas. Now, how would you feel about this show if you had 5 Camille and Thomases?
Again,
would you still be watching?
Correction. I said balance. We need some drama, but we need the love because we've had like what? San Diego had 0, right?
San Diego, remind me of the cast. Mitch and Kristen,
Mitch, Lindy,
Alexis,
Miguel.
Yeah. I think we had a 0 there.
Nate and Stasha, and we've had 1 couple in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So we need some. Give us the juice. We need something.
Yeah, and listen, hey, we got it right. But if we think about batting averages of these type of shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think 1 a season is kind of the average. Like if you think about like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, most of those things don't work out. I think Love is Blind is probably the best success stories we've gotten where you might have 2 or 3 couples a season that will come out of that show and stay together.
I think The Ultimatum has them beat. Shocking as it is.
Yeah, no. I mean, but the
Ultimatum... that doesn't count.
That doesn't count because the Ultimatum already has people that come into pre-existing relationships. I'm talking about you got people that are coming from nothing to marriage. I think Love is Blind is probably the best one right now. And that's probably at best 2 out of 5 couples of the season survive. So listen, I mean, you can dog Rain at First Sight all you want for these type of things, but like if you ever watch any of these like Indian matchmaking or Jewish matchmaking or whatever matchmakings, their bad average is no better. So it's like, I think 1 a year is probably fine. It's probably okay. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, if we compare it to the other like matchmaking shows where you go from nothing to marriage, I think 1 a season is a reasonable average to ask for when you're going from 0 to marriage in an hour.
Yeah. But I think the question is, are we even getting 1 a season anymore?
Well, no, our average is under 1 a season. Let me make that clear. I am aware of that. It's just, it's tough to come into this situation expecting ever expecting a 5 for 5, you're never going to get a 5 for 5 like that. That's impossible. I think to get a 5 for 5.
Yeah.
Your best bet is probably gonna be like a 2 out of 5 or a 3 out of 5. If we ever got a 3 out of 5, I don't know what I do. Like, that'd be crazy. Like, as beyond expectations. But I think a 2 out of 5 for Married at First Sight would be like a banner season for them. They would be like,
Yes.
yes, they would be so excited.
Yes.
Because listen, like it's hard to match strangers, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard job.
It absolutely is. It really is. I agree.
I don't know how we got on that, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, what? How do we get from
listen,
Camille?
listen, Tate, I'm the tangent king. Like we, our podcast is 2.5 hours for not for no reason.
For a reason. I'm keeping up. I'm keeping up. Okay, so Camille and Thomas got Dr. Pepper, and at first I was like, huh, I thought they'd get like Dr. P or Pastor Cal. Then I was like, you know what? I think we put a pin to the whole different backgrounds thing. And like you pointed out earlier, it's trauma day. So Dr. Pepper is like, I got this. Tag me in, coach.
Yep.
I'll go in there.
Y'all take the mess that is Ikechi and MM. I'll take the easy of Thomas and Camille and the nowheresville of David and Michelle, because David and Michelle is easy. I know where that problem is.
Yeah.
I got that. So, and for Thomas and Camille, it's like we didn't even have to have a preamble of like, here's your problem. How am I going to transition this into you talking about your childhood? She's just like, we're just going to talk about childhood off the rip because y'all got no other problems.
Yeah. And just like, let's go deep. Let's make you cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Thomas shares the story about his dad. You can really tell that his dad means a lot to him. Like every time he talks about him, he still tears up. And Camille talks about how she had to take care of her family when they had a divorce. And Thomas is like, I don't like to see you cry, but it's kind of nice to see her being vulnerable. It's the first time I've seen her cry.
I don't like to see you cry, but I kind of like to see you cry.
He said, I don't know, this could be taken anyway, but it's Thomas, so I don't think it is. He's like, it makes me feel better.
I'm just glad that he went about it this way. I'm glad he wasn't like, because you're so cold, you're so emotional. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't say something like that, because that could have been like a bad way to go. But he's like, yeah, like I like to see you more vulnerable. I can see that side of you.
Yeah,
so I think he really kind of came about it in a good way. Like he really kind of, the way he put it was good.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that was good. Honestly, there's nothing else to say. Like every week, there's nothing else to say about them.
I appreciate it because it's like the best couples on this show are the ones that are able to do the work on their own, right? They don't need expert hand holding, because if it felt like they had already talked about these things with each other a little bit before Dr. Pepper came in. But then you have someone like a David and Michelle, where Dr. Pepper asked them and we didn't even get to when we talk about David and Michelle, we didn't get to the best part of that conversation where Michelle goes, guess what, Dr. Pepper? Me and David talked for 20 whole minutes by ourselves, like just flat out 20 minutes. Can you believe it? And Dr. Pepper's like, okay, like what else you got? And they look at each other like
crickets.
Got nothing. But it's the best couples on this show that are able to do the work themselves and don't need hand holding from experts. Where you get the experts come in and say, okay, now you say this to that, you say this to them. Okay, now other person say this to that other person. Where that's pretty much what you had for these Dr. Pepper visits with David and Michelle, and then we got to Alan and Madison later, where it's like, okay, now you tell her about that. Okay, now Madison, you tell Alan about that. Because they had no idea about these backgrounds until they actually got to speak of them. But it feels like the better couples are able to get there on their own. Like, to talk more about Nicole and Chris, we were traumatized up in day 2. So it's like they were able to get there on their own, and they're one of the best couples we've ever had in the MAFS history.
But it's also a stroke of luck, because one could argue that David tried to do the same thing, and that was his.
She told him mind his own damn business.
Exactly.
My family ain't got nothing to do with you. So why are you asking?
So I don't know, but They're
Right,
fine.
but it is about pairing the right two people together that are both
Yes.
willing to do that without much prodding, without no matter who is sitting across from them. That's why that's like the mismatch we have with MM and Ikechi. Like
Yeah.
MM is ready to get deep, ready to talk about those traumas, that this and that. But
Mhm.
Ikechi is again just very like standoffish, like why you ask me so many questions?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's about getting the right two people matched together, which is very hard.
And the experts can't predict that because, like, I think I mentioned, I went back to watch the matchmaking special to see how Michelle got cast. And just like we have a different person in the after party, I can kind of see why she got cast. Yes, she was hesitant about it, but then she was like, oh, yeah, that's fine if they're working towards it as long as they're not lazy.
Mhm.
And I think, what do? You can't know until you put them together. But I'm beginning to think, like, should we start thinking about alternates
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
wings?
I think it's tough when the show is based around marriage, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't just swap out a wife for another wife in that instance. It's not like a Love Is Blind,
It
right? Where
becomes Love is Blind. Yeah.
we had the Zach and Bliss of it all on that show, but yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I don't think there is an answer. I think you just have to roll with the punches with whoever you decide to match up. I just don't think there's a
A
foolproof
fool.
way of making sure you have the right candidate because again, like in these interviews, I'm sure they are giving all the experts all the answers the experts want, and the experts are like, "All right, you're cast." And then when we get there, they're like, "Oh no, like one bad thing, I'm out."
I know. It's like a job interview or your resume. Expert in Excel. Do the pivot tables. What you talking about?
So
I
who
have
what
no
now?
idea. But it's so crazy how these people can have a simple conversation, but are convinced that they're ready for marriage. And I'm
Mhm.
just, oh God, this is not good. Um, Carla makes good on her talk dirty to Juan because they go on a date. Juan, of course, dives straight into business. Not gonna lie, that sushi looks so good. Um,
What is it about Chicago and sushi? Because there's it's featured on every episode. Some sushi, sushi, sushi. But yeah,
it's a lifestyle,
I
Jason.
guess I'm an extremely picky eater, so my thing was like, oh no, not for me.
I mean, Juan really enjoyed it. He ate the whole thing the
It's like,
entire time.
and like we get in these restaurant scenes, we get all the detail about what they're eating. I'm like, did we transition to a restaurant show? Like, what? We spent like 2 minutes on like, okay, what you have here is this. And it's like, why do I care?
Product placement.
I
Product
guess.
placement. So she even brought a book and she's like, oh, I brought a book. I was going to pick your brain. And we can see Juan's eyes like light up and he perks up. But like I said, I think I just mentioned this because I think it was working, whatever it was. It's not romantic, but
Yeah,
she might as well get her coins.
it's turned into a like a business mentor mentee relationship. It's so weird because I was watching this at any time expecting us to transition into talk about our marriage, talk about our relationship, talk about the
Yeah.
progress we are making or not making, but it just kept going into business, and then the segment ended, and I was like, what was that? Like there
Yeah.
was zero talk about the relationship. I wonder what the behind the scenes of this is. Like, are they refusing to talk about relationship? Because I know producers have to be pushing them
Yeah.
talk about relationship. And they're like, nah,
Nah,
like we're
not
not gonna talk
today.
about that. We're just gonna talk about my business. Like,
And it's just such a what is it? So when there are age gap relationships, you have the person that's older, like talking to them like they're a parent or something.
mhm.
Juan is talking to her like, I know all about business, but Juan does not have a successful business.
No,
I think that's what trips me out.
he's got a failed tech app. So like, and a warehouse and a company that no one knows what the hell he's doing, even though he told us exactly what he did. We still don't know what he's doing. So I don't know where he became this expert in business. I feel like he's really, like you said, happy about the fact that he can tell somebody about business, someone that knows nothing about business, and Juan knows little. So
Yeah.
he's like feeling great that he's able to mansplain business to somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Juan's happiness is at the moment. Nothing to do with being married to this woman. Sometimes I wonder if he remembers he got married to this woman. It doesn't feel like it.
I mean, he told us in the honeymoon he forgot. So
Exactly.
he's also giving terrible advice. She has free time. She could do something on her own. Why would she outsource it to a third party to build her site and do all the things
Like with what
and
money?
pay money?
Yeah,
Like, what? So,
yeah, it was weird.
I don't know. Very weird. All right. Somehow we went back to Camille and Thomas. They're doing the most exciting thing. They're folding shirts, and Thomas just tells Camille that he wants her to be more vulnerable. It just stood out to me because I'm like, okay, we're done with different backgrounds. Is this the next thing that we're going to beat with a stick?
Mhm.
is be more vulnerable because I want to be more. Well, I want to have this intimate moment, and I'm like, oh my god,
Is
just
this
let
a
them
fake
be.
out? Is this a
Yeah,
fake conflict you're going to get that will make us doubt whether or not they are stay together or not?
yeah,
Maybe. I just thought that like the folding clothes moment was so cute. It was so fun. It just kind of shows you how good their relationship is when you have these like fun little candid moments like this. It's like this is a moment you might see me and my wife having. It's like this
like
is
an
so
everyday.
fun and cute. It's like everyday banter. It's like okay, like y'all's relationship feels authentic and genuine already. So
Yeah.
like I love that for them.
See, Jason, the lover side is not that bad. Not
No,
chaos.
listen, I don't. I'm not against love. Like, my new saying is like I like love, but I love mess. Like that's my new thing. So it's just like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Y'all can take your 1 out of 5 couples that are love, but give me 4 that are mess. You know what the worst is? When I have the one love, I have like three. I have 3 Juan and Carlas, and then I have only like 1 MM and Ikechi. So I think this season is a good balance, right? Like we got the Camille and Thomas,
Yeah.
we got the Juan and Carla where I'm just like I
Yeah.
could probably go up and get a snack while Juan and Carla's on and not even worry about it. And then I got the David, Michelle, Alan Madison, and MM and Ikechi where I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna get something decent out of this most times.
Oh my God, Jason, you are killing me.
Sorry, I mean I like entertainment. What do you want from me?
So self-realization and is smart enough to get in the selfie cam and he's like, I just realized that, my sense of humor, dial it back. My style, dial it back. And I'm just wondering, this is what we're 11 episodes in. What does she find attractive
And the,
about me?
the the blindfold has been removed. Alan is awake. Welcome to the world, brother. Like we've all been here waiting for you. And so we were wondering on the pod, like, was this all shot out of order? Like, was this realization before the night out? And was that part of what Alan was upset about and why he chose to leave for the night?
Oh, that's a good question. I might as well just say what I typed and thought while he came to this
Oh, go
realization.
ahead,
I'm
yeah.
like, Alan is horny. So I don't
Alan,
know if it was before or after, where Alan's like, listen, I'm
Alan,
not even
Alan
getting a
is looking.
hug, a finger touch.
Alan's looking at that pint of ice cream and licking his lips. He's like, I need some of that ice cream.
Yeah.
I haven't had ice cream in a long
A
time.
long time.
I
I
need
don't want a
some ice
pint.
cream.
I
And this
want
and this and this pint of chunky monkey is just sitting here and not letting me eat it. I'm sleeping in the bed
Oh
next
my
to
god.
chunky monkey, and I can't eat the chunky monkey, and it's
Mhm.
driving me nuts. It's
Mhm.
driving the man crazy. But yes, I'm so happy that he's finally come to the realization of like, wait a minute, hold up. Does she not like me? Does she not find me attractive? What?
Is it
I'm
me,
just getting this.
Jesus?
Like, oh, thank you. Like, we were waiting for you to wake up all this time. But, and like he talks about the fact that, yeah, I've had to dial back my humor. I've had to dial back my
Mhm.
style. And
Mhm.
one of the prevailing themes this season has been, oh, change is natural in a marriage. It's like, yes, change and compromise are natural in any marriage. But
Mhm.
when you are fundamentally changing big parts of yourself,
Yeah.
then that's not the relationship for you. If you're
Yeah.
having to just overhaul your personality and your life,
Yeah.
that's probably not the marriage for you. Now, would I say, Alan, yes, you probably need to dial back your sex jokes for most women, for
Mhm.
most people, probably by about
Mhm.
20 to 30%? Yes, probably. Because we see a lot of sex jokes and we're not with him many
Mhm.
hours a day like Madison is without a camera. So yes, maybe that part you do need to change a little bit, but find someone that will appreciate you for.
Who you are. Do you think we would get this many sex jokes if he was getting some?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or he's just
Kinda. I just kind of think that's his baseline
his
humor.
shtick?
Yeah, I think that's his thing. Um,
I'm trying
but
to
that's a good
think.
question.
Does he make the sex jokes in front of the group because is it him just filling in the gap of being uncomfortable around Madison and he's on eggshells. That's just what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I could definitely see that. And the funny thing is, like, from Madison on the honeymoons, she was on making these dirty jokes of these dirty toasts. I'm like, so why is this like? Maybe she doesn't do it in the frequency that Alan does, and that's
Party
what
bus.
turns
Party
him up.
bus. When
Yeah,
said the whole field, she's like, "Oh,
no
did
big
you
deal.
feel?"
Yeah,
So why is his bad?
I mean, but it's about the whole package, right? Because if this was,
Hey-o.
hey, that's an Alan for you. But if this was David making these innuendo jokes, would it be the same problem?
So funny.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
it
Like,
wouldn't
oh my
be.
god, you're hilarious.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
But it just seems like she doesn't like Alan's vibe. I
Yes.
guess,
Yes.
because I mean, Alan's not an ugly man. Like, like I don't know. You tell me, Tay. Like,
Don't ask me.
you would be a better like. I think that answers my question, Tay.
Okay. Oh, wait, I will.
Okay.
God, Jason, what have you done? Okay. Alan is not someone that I would say he's conventionally handsome, but it's not Riz because everyone keeps fighting me about this, but he has a thing about him. He does
Yeah,
have swag. When Keisha said it and they were laughing and stuff, I was like, I'm with her. There's something about him
it's
that
confidence.
I could find like attractive
He
or
has a
whatever.
confidence about him that
Yes,
he's fine being the way he is. Now
yes,
Madison does not like the way he is, so
yes,
that's the big discrepancy where we come from. Like, where this relationship is.
yes,
So that but find Alan, find someone that matches your style of
yeah,
confidence. That person is out there. I have no doubt. But it's not Madison, and
yeah.
Madison knows it. Everyone knows it. Now Alan is getting the idea. Like he's finally seeing the light.
Yeah, I was going back and forth on whether I should say this, but I'll say it. It's not mean. I'm thinking about your question still. I like Alan's accent. I like Alan's height. I like his eyes. I think if he fixed his teeth,
Okay.
that would put Alan as like
I can't
top
even
top.
I can't even recall Alan's teeth, but now I'm going to be doing
Really?
nothing but staring at them every time I see Alan from now
That's
on.
what stands out to me for him, and I'm a teeth person, so that would
Okay.
be my only thing. But other than that, like I like his accent.
You
I really do.
know, it's hmm. I think I said that Alan looked like the real life imagining of like a Hey Arnold cartoon.
Oh
If you're
my god.
if you're ever familiar with that show, he looks like a Hey Arnold cartoon come to life. Just the style of person that they usually depict on that show. That's what I said
Oh
about him on the podcast. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not like the biggest arbiter judge of
yeah.
who is and what is attractive, but
Yeah.
you know, Madison isn't into it. That's all that matters in this
Yes.
context.
That's what it is. Everybody has different taste. Listen, I've said it over and over. Alan's gonna be fine after the show is done.
Oh, his
Like
DMs
he's
have to be blowing
absolutely.
up. They
Yeah.
have to be, especially after how he's like caping so hard for when Ike is treating her like dirt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on now, like that.
Yeah.
His DMs are going to blow up.
Yeah. He will be very, very fine. In the funniest thing of the episode for me, Jason, I'm not gonna make a comment, but feel free to. We find out that Michelle has a stylist.
Yeah. What do I want to say here? Um, what Mari on our show brought up a great point. Why is this woman's only friends people of service to her? Like, it's so weird.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, her lifestyle. But I'm like, okay, that's your stylist. Your style to me has been pretty bland to me from what I've seen. I'm just like,
It's like her personality, but yeah.
yeah. What is your stylist doing exactly? I'm not sure. I think you might be overpaying that stylist. But but did you see though when David came into the shop, the hug he gave the stylist and the hug he gave Michelle, which is like the hug that Michelle's probably told him he is only allowed to give, which is the side friend hug of like, hey, and the stylist, he's like, he bear hugs the stylist, and he's like, just pats Michelle on the shoulder, like, hey, buddy, what's up?
Because he's told us that you're absolutely right. Because he's like, I'm a hugger. So
Mm-hmm. She's like, not in this relationship, you're
don't
not.
touch me.
Not to me.
Stay away from me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she has a friend slash stylist,
Mm-hmm.
and she's trying to style him. And my first thought was like, okay, who's paying for this because
he mentions at the end, he's like, I'm gonna buy that denim jacket, and that's it. Like I was surprised she didn't throw some like underhanded comment of like, that's probably all I can afford.
I mean, she did. She was like, "Are you doing it because you're not just doing it because
Yeah,
she
well,
can't
yeah,
help herself?" But I feel like David felt like he had to say it. Like he had
yeah.
to be like, "I can afford one thing, so
I get that.
I'll pay for that." I hated all the outfits. I
They
just
were
nothing about it was him. Like
well. It's like
I
this is the big upgrade you're giving David. Flannel shirts, like that's what you got. Like that's the big style idea you have. Like I was like, this is all very basic. Like I felt like for me, the outfit he had on for the date, the episode before, was better than most of the stuff that they were giving him.
yes,
I was
the
like, what are you talking
corduroy
about?
with the
Yeah,
thing and the whatever, and then she
the
came out once and said, "Oh, it's slimming." David said, "You say I'm fat?"
she said, "Oh, I really like the denim on denim." I'm like, "Why are you trying to dress him like you?" Because I remember a couple episodes ago, she had on this like denim skirt, this denim, all she was all about denim. I'm like, "Why are you dressing him like you?" And then the the Drake and Travis Kelsey comment, I'm like, "That's your paragon of style is Drake and Travis Kelsey?" Like,
Yes,
so
Jason, they're
basic.
trendsetters. You didn't
Oh,
know that?
she's so basic. She's basic, and she doesn't think she's basic. She thinks she's advanced. She's basic.
That's what makes it worse, is the fact
Yeah,
that she just thinks she's up there. But I found it very hilarious that she said that, and then David is like, "Oh, do you find those men attractive?" I'm like,
and he was like, "Really? Like Drake, Travis Kelce? That's who you find attractive? Okay."
I mean, she's consistent, light skinned black man, I guess.
And a man that thinks he's a light skinned black man
Thank you.
that talks and dresses like he is one.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So these two are totally not on the same page. And David never speaks against anything because you could clearly see that he did not like any of the outfits, but he'll buy the denim jacket though. So
Yeah, he'll buy the denim jacket, and after the 8 weeks is over, he will donate it to Goodwill or something, or try and sell it back to a consignment shop. I don't know.
you should put a little note in there. I survived, Michelle.
Don't take the tags off, David. Don't take the tags off.
um, Madison and Alan meet with Dr. Pepper, and I don't know, they talk a lot about stuff, and Alan is just like, I just want to know if she's attracted to me and if there's anything worth fighting for. And Dr. Pepper asks her, "Is there anything you find attractive about him?" And she goes, "Oh, his effort." I'm like, oof.
Ooh. That's not good. I've said that Madison is probably one of the better people we've seen on this show. Be able to
Mhm.
toe that line. She's not really leading him on, but she's not really being honest of like this is never going to work, even though she
Yeah.
knows it's not. She's dancing that fine edge of like I'm not going to really give him anything, but I'm going to
Mhm.
pretend like I'm trying.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you on that. But I think that it got worse because after saying his effort, she goes thoughtfulness. I'm like, okay, that's not bad. And she's like, your whole caregiver. I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's
I
that's some friend zone language if I've ever heard it. Um, and and Alan's like, "That's it. That's all you got." She's like,
he's Can you do an Alan, Jason?
"No, I can't. I can't do Alan. I can't do Thomas. I think their register is just below mine. I can't get there. Like Asia for some reason does a great
Excuses.
Thomas.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, Asia does a good Thomas, so excuses,
Well,
Jason.
she can get there. I can't get down to Thomas. Like this is my Thomas. Uh, Alan's accent and tone just throws
Tone.
me off. So I can't get there with him. But he's like that's all you got. That's all you got for me. Like you got nothing else. She's like, what did he say? He
He
said,
said,
what do you find
"That's
attractive
great."
about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, well, that's a weird question. He's like, is it? Like, it's like I don't think it is. Like, I am your husband. I'm asking you, like, what do you find attractive about me? And all you can give me is effort. Like, really? That's it? And even Dr. Pepper's like, he's just asking for scraps.
Oh
Madison's
God.
like, Madison's like, I got nothing left. David ate up all the scraps. Like, all scraps have gone to David.
Oof.
And I think the biggest standout moment for me is when he's talking about, Madison, when I see her with other people, the other ladies,
Mhm.
and David. He's like the hugs she gives those people are just so natural and feel so good. I'm like, oh my god, he knows. He's clocked it. He's seen it. Like, he has seen the David Madison thing coming.
So I had a thought. Do you think he mentioned other names, but they cut it off
It
and just
seemed so isolated. The way
okay?
the wording around it. He's like, and people like David. Like, it seemed very isolated. Like, he didn't name the ladies
Yeah.
one by one. He singled out David, I think. And I think he's like, oh, like, the hug that she's giving to David is very different than the hug she's giving me. Like, so that's weird. Um,
I can see the producer just high fiving. Like,
oh my
did he?
God,
Did he just say?
they were
Yeah,
just like, they were just pumped about this.
nailed it.
They're like, write that time code down right now. We're getting that to the editing bay today for a promo. Like, I'm really surprised they haven't put that in any upcoming scenes. They hadn't put that. Like, does not say that coming. My jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, oh, he said it. Like, he said the thing
Yeah.
out loud. Like, he sees it. And that again is just like, they wouldn't put that in there unless they were really just guiding us to the David Madison of it all.
I wonder how much footage they have that we haven't seen yet, or maybe they're saving, because I don't. Are they sneaking around? Do the producers have a whiff at this point? Do they? I just have many questions because I'm just trying to think how they're going to craft their story. Are we
I'm
going
just
to get some
wondering.
footage?
I'm just wondering if after season 17, where there's this whole conspiracy behind the scenes, that they like didn't throw some extra bugs in the apartment, or like, try and do more to sniff out any behind the scenes shenanigans.
Yeah.
I did say, like, as we were seeing the still to come and all that,
Yeah.
we saw a lot of the fallout on David's side about this David Madison thing, but we haven't seen a lot of Madison. A lot of fallout from that. I'm just wondering if this gets revealed and Madison's like, nope, I'm peacing out. I am not going to be on camera as a cheater. Like, if it gets blown up, I'm out of here.
I think they're deliberately not showing her, so we don't know, because Michelle has a scene with someone that they don't show us where she's saying, I'm not the one who something.
She be
You're the
talking to
one.
David, though. Like,
No, they didn't show who the person. There are two. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
But I
I
mean,
thought it was
she
the
could be
same.
yelling at David. Is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not the one that blah blah blah. I'm not the one that cheated on my spouse.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. So she could be talking to David. I think that's one of the retreat scenes.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they're in like
a house or
the retreat
something.
house or something. So I don't know. I just don't recall a lot of Madison scenes that are dealing with this particular thing. Like, we have the Michelle David blowouts. We have Alan punching cabinetry.
Yeah.
But we haven't really seen anything from Madison. I'm just wondering.
If they do, it will reveal too much. So
Maybe,
they have to like keep that in there. But I know Carla was talking to Michelle saying, I don't want to associate myself with someone who breaks girl something or the other. But I think they're on purpose. They're trying not to put them together.
I can see that. I can
so
see that.
Madison is visibly uncomfortable right now. Like, don't ask me things like, am I attracted to my husband? That's a weird question. So
why would you ask me that? She was like getting red. She was like, oh my God, like, they see it. They know. I thought I was hiding it so well, but they're calling me out. This is the most like backed into a corner Madison has been this whole time. And she doesn't know what to do. Like, the panicked look in her eyes as Alan's talking. You see her just like her eyelids, her eyeballs like bouncing. Like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm gonna keep saying he's weird, and then Dr. Pepper goes, okay, we're not gonna solve this today. Let's talk about your childhoods. Like, Madison's like, yes, thank God. Like, we finally got off that topic.
She had a moment where I can't remember what Dr. Pepper said, like maybe saying things for him to feel wanted or something, and she goes, I can try to be better if I notice more things.
Yeah. And Dr. Pepper, the experts always have to both sides this thing. And, Dr. Pepper's like, she's giving you clues about what she likes. It's like, Dr. Pepper, really? Like, you think we're going to fall for that? Like, no. Like, come on. This is DOA, Dr. Pepper. I know, everybody knows. I don't know why we're still going with the charade of relationship. It was like, because we have a show to produce. That's why we do this, Jason. Because if we let the 4 couples go, it's all about the Thomas and Camille show. So we can't do that. Tane, okay? Like,
hey.
That's why we can't just let them go. So we have to continue this thing to finish out the 8 weeks. I just wonder what attitude Dr. Pepper and the experts go into this with, of like, I would love to see the group chat of like,
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper, Pia, and Cal, like,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to just kind of string this thing out and just say the boilerplate stuff we always say because I know we all know this ain't gonna work. Like, I just wonder if they're just lamenting behind the scenes, like, oh my god, we got a 1-in-4 season here. Like, this is already right after the 1 months. Like, we don't even have a Kirsten and Shaq where it's just like, will they,
Yeah.
won't they? We just got 4 duds, just 4 total duds, and I'm sure they're happy to be given this cheating scandal
Yeah.
content.
I need to start looking closer with Pascal. Do they wear earpieces?
I'm sure they do. I'm just sure that they're very well hidden. Because those earwigs can be like really far down the eardrum. You can't even really see them or notice them sometimes.
Okay.
But they have to, right? Or else there's a lot of cuts
That's
where
what
they
I
have
was
like
thinking.
cuts where the extras talk to producers of like, okay, like where are we going to go with this, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
I do think like a Cal, a Pepper, even a P are good enough to kind of ad lib on their own, right? To like come in with a game plan and
Yeah.
go on
Because
their own.
I know they can cover with their hair. Pascal has nowhere to hide. So I'm just like, I'm going to
Yeah,
look
but I mean,
closer.
I think you're pretty deep down into their like eardrum, like without really
Really?
seeing it. Yeah, I think so.
It would never work for me. I can't even wear as an aside, I can't even wear iPod wait, what's it called? AirPods.
AirPods?
Because nothing stays. I have to get the little hook thing, like my
Oh,
glasses
like
or
over your
something.
ear?
Yes. Because nothing stays in my ear. I have weird.
I AirPods, like they're so weird because like the stems control the stuff. Like I can't even
Yeah.
touch the stems without doing something to. But
Yeah.
listen, let's not get into another tangent about AirPods.
We digress.
Yes.
I don't know if they're changing things because Camille and Thomas really have nothing. They read letters from their 10-year-old self. Usually that used to be a whole episode of MAFS. I don't know if these people are so far gone that they're like,
They're
you
just
know
like,
what? Don't worry about your childhood.
Thomas and Camille, you are the advanced class. You eat childhood letters. You get like because like we were talking like on the like it seems like they're really kind of spreading some of the other stuff they usually do, like
Yeah.
visiting, like with Camille and Thomas visiting that gym, and she was talking about her childhood playing basketball. I'm like, we
Yeah.
usually get this like closer to the end, but they are putting these things in because listen, Thomas and Camille are on the advanced track. Like we can't get childhood letters to these people because these people don't even like each other. We can't get them to be sympathetic to to each other's younger selves because they don't even like their older selves. So we can only give this to Thomas and Camille for that reason.
Yeah. True that. Um, Carla and Juan go to a Pilates class. I don't know. I thought Carla was a yoga person, but I think we find out every day that she does something else. But I was just grateful that it was not a business date and they actually didn't talk about it. They still didn't really talk about their marriage, did they?
No, not at
They just
all.
did that. But I have a question for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Before the scene, did you know what a pineal gland was?
Um, no, like I'm trying to think if I had ever heard the name Pinot Gland because it sounds somewhat familiar, but I didn't know that it was also. Is that also what they refer to you as your third eye? Is that the thing? Like they were holding up to their
Oh
forehead?
no, it's an actual thing in our body.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were talking, she was like, "Oh, and it helps with the pineal gland." I was like, "Wait, what? Aren't we talking about
The
sound
who? What
baths or
now?
crystals and stuff?" But it's in your brain or something like that. And I
Oh,
was like, "And they say that reality shows don't educate you." I didn't know what it
hey,
was, and now I do know what it is.
exactly, exactly.
Um,
But yeah, this was. I am not a Pilates person, so I had no
mhm,
idea it was that involved to have like a whole machine look like a
yeah,
torture device,
yeah,
that
it
you do
is.
stuff on. And I thought it was just kind of fun that the lady let them pick out crystals later, like like you're going to the dentist and you're like, all right, you did so good, pick out a toy from the toy chest, like you just pick out the crystal like that. But yeah, that it was a nothing segment.
They're
It was just
filler
it was
at
very
this
much
point.
filler because that's all that Juan and Carla are.
Yeah.
So it was fine. It was
Yeah,
fine.
it was just fine. One lies to us and says, "Oh, I see her differently now." No, you don't.
Oh, boy.
So
I might actually invest in her company. Like, sir, this is a marriage show, not a business show. Like, oh yeah, I forgot.
go pay for your workers. Did you tell us you have to pay 10,000 every
Yeah,
month?
shouldn't you be working right now, Juan?
Oh man. Okay, so this is all we've been waiting for. We are writing for MM, but MM still insists on saying, "I'm gonna go see my husband
Oh,
right now." So Ikechi says he might have done wrong, but it is a reaction to a wrong that was done to him. He understands there needs to be a resolution, but talking about stuff over and over is not easy. And so I'm like,
welcome to marriage.
it's not going to be easy anyways. But they have to double team. So they're meeting with Pascal and Dr. Pia. Again, Dr. Pepper's like, count me out of
Yep.
this.
Nope.
It's not
I'm only here for
trauma.
the fun stuff.
So Pascal says if value is compromised, then the next thing is disrespect, and it all goes downhill from there. Jason, I'll say that's where we are, right? We're in downhill stage.
Oh yeah, we are. There's no stopping. We've been down here for a minute. We're picking up speed, and the only way to stop is to crash.
Crash. But he is coming in his usual mode, his backpack, his defense.
Just sullen, like a sullen teenager with those
Ready to
clouds of
fight.
stink behind him. somebody in the Facebook group, in our Facebook group, said, we were like, because my thing is like, what is in the backpack? I need to know what's in the backpack. And someone in our Facebook group was like, you know what? That's what they said. They said it's got copies of his book. He's probably always trying to sell to the cast, trying to sell to Pastor Cal, Dr. P. Like, hey y'all, I got like, listen, $5, y'all, the best letters, best poems y'all ever read. You sure? You sure don't want one? You want one? No? Okay.
I could even sign it for you if you want.
Yeah, again, sign copy.
You see these cameras? I'm on the show.
This is gonna be worth money when this comes out. Have you listen, I do not want to encourage anyone to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But have you seen the book reviews on Ike's book on Amazon?
No.
They're in shambles. It's not going well.
Oh, this poor guy.
Before the show, there was only one review, which obviously he asked as a friend to put that review because it's the same flowery language that he uses. But after that, you can tell it's no one that's actually even bought the book. It's only people that have seen the show and leaving bad reviews just because of that. I'm not telling anyone to do that. I'm not advising anyone to do that. Actually, I don't even think you can leave reviews anymore because they were like, that this is weird review bombing, and they're going to just cut off the reviews. But it's not going great for his book.
Thinking ahead, speaking of reviews, do you think it is above or below MAFS to get his ex to come to the reunion?
I think it is below MAFS. I think that is, we've had plenty of opportunity to do that, in the past with some of these other people we've had. I don't think they will do that, especially because we haven't had a specific ex to talk about with him. But there was an ex where he was engaged to and then got unengaged.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's MAFS style. I don't think that's
yeah. That's what I was thinking. I remember Pastor Dwight, but I was like, he was on the show, so that kind of made sense on that. Okay, because
that probably scared the bejesus out of the MAFS. Like, where it got to almost a Jerry Springer brawl level. They're like, oh, we can't do that type of stuff again. Like that was a conversation that they don't want.
So he comes in. Says she wants an apology and a willingness to work things out. And Dr. Pia says, before we start, I'm just asking for full transparency and honesty. And they ask her where he started from. She said he started from when he called me aggressive. And Dr. Pia said, and then when they met with Dr. Pia, he said she made unwanted advances and she took it as him saying, you're doing too much. It's the same thing we've heard over and over where he's saying, I didn't want to have sex. And then they're like, did you share that with her? And he's like, no. And Dr. Pia is like, so you made an assumption. took it as rejection. Pascal says they've been doing this for 18 seasons. And when people try to control the pace, take it slow, it doesn't work. Is that true?
Actually, something that we've saw on the podcast is like, it seems to be like usually when the people that go super fast, super quick, they usually don't work.
They burn out.
So yeah, they burn out fast, so that's not what we've really seen. But and like Pia says well, Pascal's not saying to just have sex right away. Like he's not saying that. And on our podcast, I do a weird dirty Pastor Cal impression. I'm not going to do here, but
wait, why?
I don't know. It's weird.
Okay,
but yeah, I think what Pascal means to say is don't put limits on yourself. Like don't go out there be jumping into bed the first day, but don't put intentional limits on yourself because
Yeah.
you're just going to get in your head. You're going to think about it too much with all these limits and limits. And like I said, is someone that is ready to move at a
Yeah.
quick pace.
Yeah.
Ikechi, I think if he had his way, he would have moved at the same pace, but he would have taken the lead in that pace. I think Ikechi's big problem is he's not leading the pace.
Yes.
That is trying to lead the pace, and he doesn't like that
Yes.
because he's from the South, and men from the South are
Mm.
ones that lead the pace. The women don't lead the pace. I think that's
Mhm.
one of his big things of like
Yeah.
because he mentioned the kiss at the altar where
Yeah.
she just took the lead and kissed him, and that was probably the first thing that was like, oh, this might not be for me. But then when more things happen, and he's like,
Yeah.
she's trying to lead, and he does not like that.
Yeah.
He's not his ego is not set for that.
Yeah. But it's so ironic because there's a whole bunch of couples where the guy's like, I just want to feel like I'm wanted. And here she is making it so clear that she wants him. And unfortunately, he doesn't want her.
I think he would have wanted her. I think he probably does find her attractive
Attractive.
enough, right? Because I mean, who wouldn't? Like, she's a beautiful woman, and like, it's just the fact that she wants to co-dictate the pace, but he
Yeah.
wants to dictate the pace. I think
Yeah.
that's his big hang up.
Ikechi puzzles me because just
Yeah,
when you said that he finds her attractive, I was thinking back to when the season started, and I'm like, he's saying that, but I'm not believing it. There's
true.
always been a missing piece with Ikechi, and I'm just like, I don't know his true intentions of whether he actually did find her attractive, and then he found things to nitpick and was like, aha, I can say that I don't, or if he genuinely did find her attractive, or if two things can be true. I don't know.
I think he was definitely turned off, right? Like
Yeah,
you can find someone attractive and be turned off from them because
yeah,
of their personality, because of a million other things. And in a world where Eris didn't find Jasmine attractive, I don't I just don't know
yeah,
sometimes. It's like what? Um so yeah, I do think he could definitely have been turned off. I think he may have because like what he saw coming down the altar, but
yeah.
then very quickly it was just like a no, you're doing like in MM's words, you're doing too much. So I think a great way to put that.
Yeah. Because when we're introduced to Ikechi, I'm like, Ikechi's a fine man. Like, I think that he's an attractive man. But if you ask me that now, I look at him and I'm like, mm-mm.
Tane, I didn't even ask if you found Ikechi attractive. You really put that right out there. But
Yes.
I asked about Alan. You're like, you see, the thing is, I don't know. I can't
No,
say.
Jason is calling me out. Well, I guess that's my answer. I've been called out. I still write for Alan though. He starts complaining about the questions, and the experts say, and they look at each other, and they're just like, it's making sense. I'm like, okay, share
Like,
with us.
what's this
And
mind meld that y'all got going on? like sharing a thought together. And I was like, whoa, that's weird.
And then they're like, Ikechi, you're art. MM, you're science. You both need to meet in the middle. You're here. And I'm just like, fuck this. Bring up the advances, bring up the
Yeah.
suggestive comments. This man knew that he was saying no, didn't want to have sex to muddy things up, and now he's making it seem like somebody called this man out. This whole thing was a waste of time as far as I was concerned.
But as soon as they call him Art, he was eating that up. He's like, yes,
I
I
feel
am
seen.
Art. You see me. You see who I am deep down. I am the tortured artist. It's like, oh, brother. You gave him exactly what he wanted. And it's like, yeah, you're art, you're science, you're too analytical, you're in your feelings a lot. It's like, so maybe you shouldn't have matched them. Like, it's like, okay. I wish you had seen this before, but all right. I guess this is a new realization for you both. So that was interesting. It was just like, and you could kind of you could have dictated what this is going to be before this meeting even happened. Ikechi, you need to come out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You need to come out of your comfort zone. You need to meet in the middle. I mean, we could have all figured that's where that meeting was going to go.
Yeah.
Let's meet in the middle. And the aftermath of this, like the ending of this, is like so frustrating.
Yes, it really was. Like there's a miscommunication. Can you forgive and move forward? Because the one thing the experts are going to do is keep a couple together and defend their matches. So we all know, like you said, what the whole purpose of this was. Is like, yes, Ikechi is dramatic. He pauses, he smiles, and then his like a bit of understanding is what he needs, and a genuine want or desire to see who he is. And she's like, sure, I can do that, but I need a cheat code. And I don't know.
I mean,
Just
basically,
nice.
she's telling him like, if you don't like something, tell me. Like,
Yeah.
without being a dick, preferably. Like, if I'm doing something that you don't like, tell me nicely, and I will stop doing that instead
Yeah.
of being passive aggressive and then blowing up on one of these extra visits or like a dinner of being like yelling and screaming about something I did when I've
Yeah.
done 10 times that I didn't know that you were upset about. It's like that's part of it. And then when they're like, and then when Pia goes, okay, like everybody hold up, this is not going to work unless you move back in together. If I was I would have sat there like Ikechi does, silent until he spoke up.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not the person in the position that needs to be asking Keiichi to move back in.
Mm-hmm.
Will you move back in with me? And then he
Mm-mm-mm.
turns and stares at her. Yeah, I'll do that. In the most disinterested,
Yeah.
uh, gross way
I'll throw you a
that he
bone.
does. Yeah, like ugh. For to have you put in that position, like I said, I would have had a staring contest. Like, you
Yeah.
gonna break or am I gonna break? Because I'm not breaking.
Yeah, like don't throw him any bone. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't deserve anything about that. But I don't know. Pascal's like, just keep it light, and I'm like, they're
Mm,
gonna fight in the first 5 minutes. Like it's
yes.
not. You can't come back from what they went through because both people are gonna be on egg. Well, Ikechi is really not gonna be on eggshells. That man don't care. He's just gonna
That man
say what he
crushes all those
wants.
eggshells. He does not step lightly. He steps hard. And then like because he's like, yeah, when I get home from work, just ask me how my day was. You don't like questions. You don't like being asked questions. What you talking about? Um, and then this idiot has the nerve after been given like a sliver of hope that none of us actually believes. This idiot is like, I'd be lying to you if I said I was excited to come move back in. Like, so you just after all this, you just shit on that whole thing. You just came and dragged that whole thing down in the mud. I hate him. I can't stand him.
Alan is going to. You got to move into your top five. Alan is going
I
to.
was waiting.
Alan is going to hit the nail on the head. And after party, Ikechi just wants conversations to stop. He'll
Yep.
say anything, do anything. Like, yeah, okay, but just stop talking
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
exactly
So
what he did there. Like, yeah, I'll
yeah.
move in. Like, stop. If this it stops this conversation and blaming me for anything, I'm down to
Hmm.
just do whatever.
Yeah. Well, that was it. And I feel like I've seen this more to come. I don't even know the difference between the more to come preview and next week's preview, between after party, last week, this week. I've seen it
Yeah,
so many
it's a
times.
lot.
I'm just ready to see what happens. But that was the episode. Entertaining as always. But in all of this, Jason,
Yes.
who has your bouquet?
Who has my bouquet? This is a really tough episode to give bouquets out to. Boy, who am I going to give my bouquet to? I don't really want to give it to anybody, to be honest with you.
That's an option. No one deserves it.
No, I'm gonna give it to somebody. I'm gonna give it to somebody. Let me give it to David again for just putting up with this. Just putting up with going to this clothing store and having to deal with the slings and arrows that Michelle has given to him constantly.
Honestly, that's the reason for me to even consider. He was one of my nominees for the Ashes because I'm just like,
Really.
stand up, stand
Stand up for
up.
yourself, man. Stand up for yourself. What about you? Who has your bouquet this week?
I don't think you're gonna believe it, but it was really hard because no one deserves it. But I'm gonna give it to Madison for actually standing up and saying, you know what, do not drink and drive, and actually just not being like, do
Okay.
whatever. But actually, because I have nothing,
Yeah. Yeah.
no one. I mean, Camille and Thomas, I guess, but
Oh yeah,
it
yeah. I
sounds
mean, but
cliche.
that's so easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
they always have they have the consistent bouquet every
yeah,
week.
exactly.
Um,
Who has
yes,
your ashes?
it's got to be Alan, right? Like just the worst decision maker, like in drinking and driving. Just for that, he gets my ashes this week.
Hmm, that
What
makes
about you?
sense. Considering I gave Madison the bouquet because she stood up for it, you would think Alan is my ashes, but he's
Uh-huh.
not.
Uh-oh.
I mean, my ashes go to the experts. They really pissed me
Okay,
off
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this episode, like trying to make fetch happen. And I just think they should have just they've asked people they asked Michelle and David at some point. So do you guys not want to do this anymore? Why can't they just ask them this question? I just don't think MM should have been put in that situation. It just felt like, again, I agree. I accept that I'm biased. I feel like she's the aggrieved, and I still feel like she's the one grumbling, and it's just annoying me.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be biased to see that. Like, yeah, that's I think most people would agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like when we were talking about bouquets, I was like, do any of the experts get my bouquets? And I was like, no, like I didn't I didn't agree with much of what they were
Mm-mm.
saying.
Mm-mm.
Because to I mean, to try and salvage this MMA Keiichi thing is
Yeah.
not a good look. Dr. Pepper was just kind of blowing off most of the actual problems these people have when on to talk about childhood trauma, so none of them
Yeah.
got it for me. But yeah, just for the dumbness that Alan's going through, I give him my ashes.
Yeah.
Almost everyone could have got my ashes this episode, but it is what it
That is
is.
true.
Yeah.
Deservedly so. Well, Jason, as always,
Yes.
always a key. Always a good
Yes.
time having you
For sure.
here. Can you share with people where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me. Listen, I'm not a big social media person nowadays, but you can find me on Blue Sky JR33D over there. You can find me in podcasting land. I am on the podcast The Perfect Match. That's where me and Asia Welch and sometimes Mari Forth talk about this lovely show every week. So we're there. Like I said, we have a Facebook group. If you want to come join the Facebook group, it's called A Perfect Match on Facebook. You do need to agree to group rules. There is a password. Tane, give me something related to this episode or anything you want to be the password for people that I know came from this episode of Altar Call to let them into the Facebook group.
Um, can it be a phrase? You can
Yes,
always be a
yeah,
phrase.
totally.
I just don't want this lifestyle.
I just don't want this lifestyle. If you look up A Perfect Match on Facebook, what is what is it? I just don't want this lifestyle. Enter that as your password, agree to the group rules, and we'll let you in.
Okay, I gotta stop laughing.
But yeah, that's where you can find. You can also find me on my other podcast, The Good Pod. We talk about The Good Wife and Elsbeth over there with my co-host Marissa Garza. It's my little passion project, if you will. It's not a big network affiliated thing. It's just something I do for fun, for shits and giggles. So me and Marissa Garza do that podcast. If that is your thing, if that's your bag, like come on over and hear us talk about The Good Wife.
Yeah, and even if it's not your bag, I've said it before the last time Jason was on here. Go watch the show, The Good Wife. I don't even watch Elspeth, but I need to find time to watch Elspeth and go check them out.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
We would.
And you know where to find us. It is Altacall, MAFS, ALTAR, CALL, on Blue Sky, on Twitter, on Instagram. Please give a 5-star rating. It helps on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And you can find After Party. Jason's going to be with me on that on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Altacall, MAFS. Until next week, when we find out why Juan is bawling. What was the second thing we wanted to find out?
The sex message.
The sex. Where David was allegedly so hungry and wants to eat his cousin's food. It sounds disgusting. But
I can't wait for that. That's so messed up.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.